Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. This is episode 30, and my name is Mauricio, and I'll pass this along to Indian Star.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 30. Super exciting. And we have the full crew here. That's so exciting. GPJ, you want to introduce yourself next?
Hey guys, it's Grandpa Joe, everybody's favorite space grandpa, and wow, what an exciting week. Normally I gotta stretch a little to say that, but we had fire. What? Man, I'm down for this review. All right, with that, over to you, Thomas.
Hey, Grandpa Joe. So yeah, an amazing week. This is Thomas. We have so much to go over. So to take it off, Golden Boy.
Hey everybody, my name is Zach Golden. Welcome to the Starbase Weekly Review live stream. And man, Thomas, I don't know. I'm on the fence about the awesome week. Like, are you guys all? I mean, it was really cool what happened, but did you guys enjoy it? I was pretty
exciting, not good.
Super exciting. Totally enjoyed it. Want to see more, just not like that.
It's amazing, but there's different types of amazing.
It's a callback to the early days of Starbase when you didn't know when something was just going to blow up out of nowhere.
I agree with that 100%. And I think we should show it. We'll show it again later in the show. But for those of you who, I don't know, under a rock somehow and didn't see this, I think we can go ahead and show it from a few different angles. And I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying that I'm out of town this week. I'm in Denver instead of Chicago, so this is going to be a little bit different show as far as organization goes. Don't have all the tools that I normally have to switch through things pretty quickly. So with that being said, you guys should be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to see if I have sound on this too when we play it. So we're going to swap over to the video from Lab Padre. And excuse me, thank you to Lab Padre for letting us play this because this is really awesome footage. So we just wanted to be able to show you guys. And a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about the actual damage that occurred from this event when we go look at the launch mount and the launch tower and everything over there. So with that being said, here it goes. Gotta love that new thermal cam.
Dude, that is amazing.
Predator 2, now with Donald Glover.
We'll pause it there. We will touch back on this a little bit later in the show. I just wanted to show you guys those views really quick. Man, I'll tell you what, that was pretty crazy for me because I first of all, that entire test was pretty amazing. If you guys watched it, there was tons of even though Rover Cam didn't have the greatest view thanks to this crane being in the way. Honestly, watching it for the sounds alone was pretty amazing for me. I mean, hearing those Raptors spin up the way they did during that test was pretty awesome. So, I watched it for quite a while, and I was like also working on this episode at the same time. And I was like, all right, you guys, I gotta turn this off. So I finally turned it off, and then 3 minutes later, I get like blown up by everybody. Like, I guess that was the wrong pun to use, but did you see what happened? I'm like, no, I didn't. Turn it on, and oh man, that was definitely an intense moment for sure. I actually turned it off again like 10 minutes later, right before the secondary fire started. So I missed both of them live, which is not very normal.
Yeah, I definitely went through a lot of mixed emotions. At first, I was excited because there's fire, but then I was like, oh no, it's blowing up everything. And then I thought, you know what? This might be a really good test of just how a launch might go. But then I realized a launch doesn't go like this. It's not quite as concussive of a force. It's a little bit more steady and controlled and with more shielding in place. So
I
a lot
agree.
of detail there.
And you know what? We might as well just at least go glance at the launch mount. We're going to talk about it more in depth later, but I mean, we can't just sit here and mention it and then not actually look at what happened to it. So let's
What have they done to my boy?
Oh man, this is pretty bad. When I first saw this, it made me want to throw up.
It'll buff
Wow.
right out.
I guess.
So anybody who had concerns about the paint job on the OLM, well, those concerns are resolved now.
It's gone. Oh man, yeah, this is an impressive amount of damage. I would say, like, just looking at this makes me wonder what we would expect it to look like after an actual launch. Like, obviously, during a launch, you're not going to be burning fuel the same way. It would be a lot more of a complete reaction instead of having excess fuel in the reaction, which is what happened here. So it was like burning fuel rich, which is why it's so much black smoke when it was when the secondary fire started. So yeah, I have a feeling that this kind of thing may not happen during the launch. And also, I don't know. I think it's pretty clear now. Thomas, do you think this is actually was supposed to be the final paint?
Something to that effect for the internal side, and everything else. Yeah, but now it's not going to be the final paint anymore.
I vote they use broken heat shield tiles and just glue them on up there.
Maybe if they didn't have these flame diverters at the bottom, the explosion wouldn't have been so big. They would have just stayed under here.
So up at the top of the mount, it's all open. Had that been enclosed like it would have been for a launch, might that detonation have just blown away more or caused more damage, or do you think it would have been less? In between the awning at the top and the bottom of the table, like they're going to have shielding there, we believe. So if that was on there, the explosion would have been contained. I think it might have been a little bit worse.
Possibly. I guess it depends on how much of that methane gas was inside of the table as well too. And that was one thing that was kind of hard to see during the explosion. It seemed like it started like towards the bottom. But it also We had a few people measure it out. If you guys follow Lola Matico and Too Legit to Quit 3D on Twitter, they were able to calculate how high the flame went, and it was roughly 70 meters. So the flame that happened, and I guess I'll swap back over to show this. Um, so the flame that happened towards the end, and actually, does this video show the? There we go. And I'm gonna run this in slow-mo. So we good there. Drop the audio. So you guys can let me back this up a little bit. You can kind of see that the explosion like starts towards the bottom. Like that's where I see that first flame is down here, like towards the bottom. Um, and obviously you have that huge shockwave. But the flame that I think really caused most of the damage on the launch mount is, or not the damage, but the paint residue being peeled off is this right here.
So not the explosion, but the burning.
Yeah, it's the fire. It's that fire right there that caused most of the aesthetic damage, I think. Um, Obviously, the damage to the control boxes and all that stuff was from the actual explosion, but everything that makes the launch mount look the way it does currently um, was from that's what I call the secondary fire. Um, and let me swap back over there. Yeah, so that secondary fire caused all of this stuff up and down the legs. Um, man, it looked so good before. I'm very disappointed. Anyways, unless you guys have any more comments on this right now, we're going to come back and analyze this a lot closer because there's a lot of small details in here that we could talk about. But unless you guys had something you want to mention right now, I was going to go ahead and start us back off at the production site.
All right. No Macy's this week.
Well, I guess that's an important thing to mention. Mauricio, did you want to talk about the flyover attempt from today?
So the flyover attempt today was, I would say, rescheduled just because of the weather situation in the morning, and we're actually planning on doing it on Monday now. So just stay tuned for that. Hopefully the weather cooperates, and that's pretty much it.
I think Mauricio, we should touch on the other subject as well too. I think there's a lot of people in the chat who want to hear about the progress with the new camera. I think
Oh yeah,
are they on sale right now too?
yes. So good news, we reached the goal to purchase the camera, the Sony A7R4. And the other good news is that now I don't have to go out of pocket. I was planning on getting the insurance and a couple of other SD cards. So, and like Zach mentioned, that it's also on sale, so it's gonna kind of break even at that point because of the insurance, the taxes, and all that. So I want to thank everybody that donated and supported us for that particular camera. And I can't thank you enough for this, and I can't wait to get that camera. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait for the YouTube revenue to hit the bank in this case, so that we can get that. So hopefully the camera, it's still on sale by then. So wish us luck on that. And then aside from that, it's I can't wait to show you all the difference between the Sony A7 III and the Sony A7R4. And we'll definitely have those images up here. 61 megapixels, that's pretty exciting stuff right there.
So exciting. Super
Well,
duper exciting.
I'll go ahead and say it for her. Indian Star would like for a secondary flyover during the week if it's still on sale.
Double
So the sale,
flyover.
if we save some money on this camera, and Indian Star would like another flyover this week, and I think there's a lot of other people in the chat who are going to say the same thing. So we'll just go ahead and say it.
Thank you, Zach.
I'm not a fan of multiple flyovers in a week, but I think a lot of other people are. I like to wait for things to kind of move around a little bit because sometimes it's like, oh man, like nothing really happened. But at the same time, there are times at Starbase where things really are moving that quickly. Where doing back-to-back flyovers, you can see a lot of changes. Which who knows? Right now might actually be one of those times.
Mm-hmm. And along with that, towards your goal, our goal, we also got a few donations before you get started. I wanted to thank Sharpie for his $10 donation, Paw Angel for a $10 donation, who started the $10 train and says, let's go, and Jim Cabot for a $5 donation. Glad to see you all here this weekend. And 55 Chevy Guy Steve for his $10 donation. And he says, is the new camera Sunny approved? I guess that's a Mauricio question. Sunny approved the new camera?
I mean, he gets photo shoots taken with the. I think he does like it.
Hey,
Sonny
Um,
doesn't get to
posing in a
use
lot
the
of
camera.
pictures.
one little small thing. This is totally my fault, but he almost dropped my camera from the seat. But
Don't blame the
So it's
dog.
absolutely Sunny approved, is what you're saying. He wants the new camera soon.
Is that why he only has 3 legs now?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Right? Where is that other leg?
Back
He's
right.
scratching himself on the right hand side with his
Yeah.
back leg.
Thomas pointed this out earlier, and after he said it, I can't unsee it. It definitely looks like he only has 3 legs here. So
Same, I can't unsee it either.
Go back to the other picture of Sunny. There's another thing I could point out. He's missing some teeth. He's teething right now.
But that's real. That's not a figment of
Oh,
our
it's real.
imagination.
Oh yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dog looks just like him, only he's a bit older by about a month or two, and went through that same phase where he's losing some teeth. So he's going through that infant phase.
Yeah, your boys could be twins from different brothers from another mother.
Yeah, pretty much. Every time I look at him, I'm like, oh,
is that my
there's
dog?
Jackson. I mean, Sonny.
That's awesome.
The collar
Well-
looks new. Anyway, sorry.
So with that out of the way, I like I said, a lot of people get disappointed if we're not able to do flyovers, but luckily there's a ton of stuff that we can cover from the ground this week, as always. Probably even more than normal today, I would say. There's a ton of things happening at Starbase. We all know that Booster 4 is now at the Sanchez site, along with all the other starships that actually kind of did something. Really only ship 15, I think, can say that it actually did something. Well,
Ship
you know
20
what?
got stacked. I mean, that's something.
Yeah, ship 20 was the Ultra Pathfinder. That was the first one to do pretty much everything, so it kind of deserves that place. 21, in my opinion, will probably get scrapped soon.
Wait,
No,
that's
it's-
22.
22,
Haters.
21.
You could call it 21 and 22. It's the Franken rocket. It's got multiple parts from different ships.
What are we at? What's 21 up
21.5?
here, 21 up here, 22 down there.
Yeah.
It's just a lamp.
And
Throw
then
it
like
away.
23 at the bottom. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's like a centaur, except you don't even notice unless we told you.
It was just like
One eye.
a 24, 23, 21. I mean, how do you go about saying the name? Like centaurs have their 511 and stuff like that.
Yeah, for that reason alone, I don't know. It just almost seemed like they were trying to get stuff out of the way so that they didn't have to scrap it. But I don't know. I guess at the same time, we aren't really expecting any ships to be returning anytime soon. So 24, 25, 26, probably going to lose all those. So I don't know. Maybe they will keep that space in the garden.
Please.
I guess it's too small of a lot for it, but I shouldn't say. Well, in the event that Booster 7 doesn't return, maybe it'll end up over here. But I personally don't think the damage to Booster 7 is as bad as it appears to be, even though it's now back into the Mega Bay.
So when you say return, you mean return from high bay?
Wait, which one is it in? It's in this one, right?
Mega bay?
Yeah, it went to High Bay 2 or Mega Bay or Wide Bay.
Okay. Yeah, truthfully, I'm going to be a little bit behind on some of the stuff from this week because I tried to ignore it because there's just way too much happening. Just like every 5 minutes, like, oh, did you see this? I'm like, nah, trying not to. So this is gonna be a catch-up session. I think it's a catch-up session for Thomas as well too today. So
Yeah, we're all pretty much catching up and learning everything brand new again.
with you guys.
Which is actually the best because we're doing it together.
Yeah, and now I mean we're being at the top of the Widebay right here, it does kind of look relatively the same from last week. We had this is actually a funny story. I think hopefully it's the next picture. Let's go ahead and swap over to find it. So we have this crane outside of the Mega Bay, and I want to get the really good picture that we had of it.
While you're looking for that picture, we want to thank James for donating $100. And says cooling vests and treats for Sunny Fun. Sunny must be prepared for outings. Thank you, sir. We genuinely appreciate it, and so does Sunny.
Why do I feel like this isn't here anymore? I accidentally delete a picture. We can use this one. So this crane right here is the TNT boom lift crane, or sorry, is that what you call it?
Telescopic boom lift crane.
Oh wow. Thank you. Wasn't expecting that. So telescopic boom lift crane. And so this is what the crane normally looks like up to this point, and they've added on this extension. Obviously, it's been here for several months, helping out with the work on the Widebay. But the thing about this is they actually disassembled this last week. I think that logistically they had some confusion where the other somehow forgot the other crane wasn't there anymore. And so in order to lift the windows up on top of this building, they need this crane. And so I think they disassembled it early.
No, disassemble.
And now it's back. So that means that we should be seeing windows sometime soon. And now that
They already have the windows on site between High Bay and Mega Bay here.
just
So
noticed
they're in the
something.
pellets, but they're not physically up there yet. You can see that, that they've got parts of the window frames being installed, looks like.
Before I point out, oh yeah, well, I was gonna show the windows on the ground, I guess. Mauricio, do you have a picture of the windows on the ground in this set? Maybe we do.
I don't think I did on this particular visit to Starbase.
Well, that is fine. It doesn't stop us from saying the same point. So if you guys look up here, you can see these brackets that are being installed halfway across.
So we don't see a mouse, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Correctamundo. I don't know if anybody else sees a mouse. I don't.
Only in my imagination
don't.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while you do that, one thing, I don't know if you were going to talk about that, but Dave actually pointed out those mid-span beams. That mid-span beam. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you feel me?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna
Take your
switch
time.
over to a different software really quick, even though I don't have what I normally need in order to run it. So just stand by. And I guess while I'm doing this, do you want to read through any other questions that we might have?
Well, we do
Or if
have
you guys
a
want to talk about this.
question. We do have a question for sure. And there's a photo for you to check out in that stream. That might be the one you were looking for. But the question is, and it has to do with the video, the Shah is asking, can you show the run up to the boom when you come back to it? He says, impressive fountain show of various engine groups, some gimbaled. So that's interesting. And there's another question from Scott Pettypost. He asks, isn't that the boom on crane much longer? Is the boom on that crane much longer?
Oops.
Anybody know?
Sorry, I just closed out of that
Yeah, no
that
worries.
slideshow on accident, guys. Give me 1 second.
Take your time.
I believe that the boom on that crane, you're asking if it's longer than
Yeah, the question was, is it longer?
longer than
Probably other cranes? There was no point of reference. It just says, isn't that boom on crane much longer?
I'm not sure. I guess we would need that point of
Dave?
reference to to find out. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm almost there.
You know, it's funny. Creedon
And the
says,
stream hasn't ended. It's still going.
yeah,
We're good.
don't
We're
worry.
still here.
This is a figment of your imagination. You do not see the stream and what it says at the moment. Credence actually
right.
was quite funny. He says, where'd it go? He says, Sonny chased your mouse away. I thought that was funny.
I forgot what I just did that for.
You were going to show us a mouse while you were looking at the picture.
Oh yeah, is my mouse showing up now? We're good.
We still don't see.
But you haven't submitted your stream there.
You got to
I'm
share,
sorry,
my
guys.
friend. Share.
Apologies.
Et
All
voila,
right.
monsieur.
Do we have a mouse?
We do. Thank you.
All right, technical difficulties, guys. I apologize. Like I said, I'm in Denver this week instead of Chicago, so instead of having my normal 4 monitor setup plus a stream deck to control everything, I am going analog with the mouse. So everything's a little bit difficult right now, but hopefully we are good. Is everything showing up pretty well?
Yeah,
It
looks good.
is perfect. Just like you, GB.
There we go. So the if you guys look at the like I said, the mounts right here, you could tell that the windows will actually be split obviously into two. So that's kind of cool. I think that actually to some degree kind of makes it so they could put 2 levels on this, right? What do
Makes
you guys think?
sense. Makes sense to me.
I don't know. Grandpa Joe, Thomas, do you guys also think there might be have 2 levels on here, or
I think it just allows them a better visibility during launch.
Yeah, I think they'll have one, maybe with stadium seating, just so they can all see at the same time everything going on for operations.
yeah? I mean, this is a lot of support, I guess, just for those windows. But yeah, now that I think about it, I don't really see anything else other than this when it comes to adding a second floor inside of here. But that's not to say that it
I
won't come
got you.
later.
I got you one better. Much like NASA, they may add an external slats to that can drop down and protect the control room. I remember back in the day at the local launch control, they had kind of like shutters almost over the control room glass.
Oh, yeah, that would actually be interesting. I don't know if they have. Oh, I don't know how they would do that here, because your glass panel is actually going to be tucked up in underneath here, right?
No,
So
well, the shutters would be tied to the bar in the middle that's outside the glass, and it would just ride on the outside.
I think I may need an example of that in order to fully grasp it.
Sure, I'll send it to you.
And I think somebody was posting some stuff that in the background for me to show, and I just found that. So actually, that's going to be difficult.
Do we know how tall each level is? Todd Burnell is asking, and I think that's a very valid question. How tall is each level?
Each of these levels, I'm guessing he means. Let's get to another image. So in between these two,
Or with the mid-beam, or both?
I'm actually not 100% sure. I have not measured this out. I believe
I've
it's
measured it. It's around 24 feet.
24 feet. Okay. Yeah. So just over or just under 10 meters. But yeah, these are, I mean, it's kind of crazy. If you guys have ever been to Starbase, actually standing outside of this building is insane. And I did wanted to show an image really quick, but I'm going to have to like slide it over here in order to do that. So um, hopefully you guys can see this well enough.
Beauty
Okay.
miss.
Um, So yeah, you could kind of see like what it looks like when you're standing at the bottom of this building, looking up at this crane. I mean, man, this looks amazing.
That's the exact way that it looks like. If you're standing there, this is how it feels.
Which is crazy. You
Yeah,
just
you know,
don't get the feel
but
of the scale until you're there, right? Because you gents have
Yeah.
been there.
Until you've been there, your scale of dimensions and time are completely wrong until you're actually there. And it's like, okay, it does take you quite a bit of time to go from one place to the other to actually see things. And it's also the scale of how the buildings are and everything in proportion to each other. So these buildings are bigger than the booster. But when you've got the full integration tower and everything else just towering above you, you get a bigger sense of scale there too. It's just incredible how your perception changes once you're actually there.
So I'm really looking forward at the end of the month. I'm going to go see the vertical assembly building, and man, after seeing these two, actually I never saw Widebay complete. When I was last in Boca Chica, it was October. They were still maybe 2 sections up. But hey, I'll be going down as soon as that launch is confirmed. I'll be down there.
I think as soon as that launch is confirmed, many of us will be down there. There is a question from Leandro Sanchez. They ask, is it possible that the wide bay points towards the orbital launch area?
um,
So the right hand side does.
yeah, it does. And I think if we grab like an older image or something, we may be able to show that. Let me see if I can grab one actually, or if we can throw
We
one
can
in the
find
chat.
one. Yeah, we can definitely find one. While you keep going, the question that Todd was asking was how tall is each level, and then they clarified and said, "I mean the area with the mid beam." Thanks. So he was asking about the mid beam and how tall each one of those levels were. And is that still 24 feet, Thomas?
Yeah, about 24 feet or about almost 7.5 meters.
Be right back, Pickles.
Thank you, Rocket Prophet. I was curious why you put that in the chat, and now I know. Rocket Prophet is doing my job for me. I was given one task and only one task, and I failed.
It's
I'll
still
tell you,
12:30.
Hey, EPJ Pickles.
I'll tell you guys what, it is very difficult doing this without my normal setup. You guys are definitely going to notice me flying back and forth trying to find different things while talking at the same time, and that usually what I'm doing behind the scenes, but now I'm sorry if that makes you guys dizzy when it happens. So
No, you're doing a
um
good job because you're switching at the bottom. So it's actually like a peek behind the curtain. It's like
yeah,
Wizard
it's
of
tough.
Oz.
Very tough. So continuing on, we still have these stairs at the bottom of the high bay, and they're not really showing much progress. So I've kind of said this before, they don't really seem to be prioritizing this very much. But we have next door, and this is what I wanted to talk about next, was the Starfactory. So we got lots of progress happening at Starfactory, and definitely deserves some attention. So let's go ahead and hop over there.
Woo!
All right, I got a lot to say here, so I'm going to let somebody else take this one off.
You have a lot to say here, so you want somebody
Oh,
else to
wait,
start?
Thomas, you haven't seen these yet, have you?
I haven't seen this, but I can see that they've been putting up sheetrock in the back corner around the stairwell.
Yeah.
So it looks like they would be putting sheetrock on both sides, to the inside and the outside. So it's like some sort of office or also fire break right there. But the question is, what's above it? Because we still don't have anything above that, and the stairwell doesn't seem to go up above the sheetrock either. So it's like this small, tiny little office or something right there.
Yeah, and maybe an older image of this might help us out as well too, just because um, with people can't really see what's behind there, but I guess we can kind of describe it. So basically, what you have back here is like a whole frame. Like there's a how do you describe this? There's a stairway first of all, and then there's two rooms behind this. So we're pretty sure that there's like a mechanical room for all the like electrical and whatnot that's coming into the building, and possibly even a room for storing like argon gas and like air compressors or something like that. Because when you see right here in the background, and we talked about this last week, there are these new pipes set up back here. So uh, it's kind of wouldn't make sense to have the same thing in all three of these. So what we can come up with so far, our best guesses is compressed air, um, argon gas for welding, and I guess I can't come up with a third one. You guys got one? I tried. Yeah, but it's so obviously they're three different colors for that reason. So it's going to be at some point, hopefully before this wall goes up on the outside, we'll be able to see what it ends up running to. Um, I think some of it actually ends up going up to the roof, so that could be a sign of what it is. Um, and one of the biggest changes that I've seen in here actually from the last week is you can see it on both sides. So on the actual these right here are the center columns. Um, number one, they're actually being painted, so everything's being painted white. You guys can kind of see on the right side that things are being painted white, and this one pillar is painted white.
Interesting that it's only that one, and it's not like the first one. It's like the
It's like a
fourth one.
sample or something.
Right. It's
Yeah,
odd.
I think so. Yeah, a sample. And one of the biggest things they added in here is these supports right here that go from the floor. Okay, from the floor all the way up to this beam. Anybody guess? Got
Incher
guesses?
crane.
It's a bridge crane.
Yes,
It's a
sir. So
bridge
we
crane.
have the first bridge crane supports in there.
You can see them on the left side as well.
Yeah, so sorry, I should have said that as well. There's another one on the left side, so these are actually attached to the wall, and then obviously the bridge crane rails are way up top, close to the ceiling. So with that being said, we should start being on the lookout for what are these? This is probably 20 to 30 meters, 20 meters across.
I thought we saw these bridge cranes, no? Aren't they in the build site?
Sanchez.
Sanchez? Thank you, sir.
Bridge
I thought,
cranes?
yeah, those yellow ones. Maybe it was just in a dream. I don't know. I
No,
thought
we
we
don't
saw them.
know that you're thinking of the ones for the wide bay.
No, because
Yeah,
Widebay ones have
I
been
don't.
in there for a while. But anyways,
Yeah, we haven't seen any actual bridge cranes. It'd be very, very large, because it's gonna go from here all the way over to the other side. And I have a feeling that we may see. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if there was at least 3 of them up there. 2 at the minimum. There's no way there's only 1 of them though. I refuse to believe there'll only be 1.
Didn't.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the exact same. You would need 2 just to transfer stuff, and also for all the jobs and stations they have there. Did y'all cover the new gypsum board covered storage rack in the back?
Yeah, we briefly talked about that one.
Still interested in what that's going to be. If it looks less like storage and more like machinery and operations back there.
Yeah, so far my best guess is a mechanical room.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough to tell for sure until we get all of these trucks out of the way. Maybe we'll be able to actually see in there. But yeah, I mean, the reason why this wall isn't up is because these guys have to drive in here every day. So until these vehicles get out of here, they probably won't be putting this wall up, which is good because now we get to see everything. I am confused why they still haven't finished this section. I'm guessing. I mean, I would love to see. Mauricio's going to be sad when I say this. I would love to see an aerial to see if they actually have these on site or if they're purposely not installing them. I'm sure they do have them on site, but I can't really think of a reason why they aren't up here yet. But the other thing to point out is the lights in the background. So we saw these last week. We weren't 100% sure if they were lights, but as you can tell, they are. So this would probably be one of the first days that they had these on. And of course, they're only on the back wall so far.
and they're facing us, right? They're not hanging down and we're catching a side view.
Yeah. And I finally got a good shot from Max Q, who just sent me a nice little map, and this is going to be a weird switch over, so let's see.
By the way, the bridge crane, I did a quick measure, 120 feet or about 36.5 meters.
I don't know if this is working. Let's see if I can switch this. I don't know if you guys are seeing the right thing right now.
Still looking at the bridge crane.
Yeah, I think we see the bridge crane.
And the Appleton isn't going to work because it's not the right kind of crane, right?
Oh no, that's like a pivoting crane, so it's mounted to a single point and can rotate back and forth, left and right. That's it.
Right. So that's called a different kind of crane. That's not a bridge crane, but the other one.
I'm going
Sweet.
to attempt this one more time. Sorry,
You
guys.
guys jump in with what the name of the crane is. But that answers Adam Baker's question. He was asking if the Appleton would fit, and it's just
There
not
we
the right
go.
crane.
I got it now, guys. We're almost good to go. This is one of the more difficult days for me right now. I'm
Okay, you're
going
doing
to
great.
try
Yeah, you
and
make it look
expand this a
easy,
little
dude.
bit. Doesn't feel easy. So I'm going to expand this out a little bit so we can see the whole thing a little bit more. Just want to make sure everything's sized correctly. Like I said, I normally do all the stuff in the background. There's always a lot going on.
Pedestal
But
crane. Thank you, Max Q.
here we go. Now you guys can see the I like get confused every time I talk about it because I go from calling it Mega Bay to Wide Bay to High Bay 2. We'll just cycle through all those names. But you can kind of see that the entrance of said structure faces towards a little bit to the north of the launch site. So that means that the best view is actually out of the front corner, I'm guessing.
It's actually both the front and the left corner. So I grabbed a Google Earth view real quick. it's the front and the side is the two angles you can get it from. So if you scroll down to the bottom left there, it's easier to kind of
So
see it.
270-degree view.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
And it's 2.2 miles away. That's what that little line was to measure it. And it's off on the far left-hand side of the screen there.
And believe you me, you can see plenty from 3, 4, and 5 miles away.
Is this Google Earth because it says RGV's stamp date of the photo?
Oh, that's a photo I put on Google Earth so I could see exactly where the photo was taken. I was having fun with it.
Because I was like,
Oh, okay.
wow, RGV works for Google?
I thought this was at first. Yeah, me too. I was like, that's weird.
Here's a more zoomed in view of the Mega Bay or Wide Bay or High Bay 2, whatever you want to call it. So you can see it from that right wall and that front wall. So basically, you can view it from either of those directions there.
So the
That
good
is a
place to have mission
unique-
control would be on this side of the building, then.
No
where you can
mouse.
actually see stuff. Okay,
When you say
No
this
mouse.
side of the building, you mean the right side or the left side?
On the right side of the building.
Oh. That is a very unique view of that building. Like, I can't even tell it's a building.
So returning back here. Let me see if there's anything else in here that we wanted to touch on. I do believe that some of the AC units may finally be installed. Because look, well, actually, I'll take that back. I would say the roof is installed for sure up to this point because you can see how it's so dark back there. So again, they're going very, very slow with this roof for some reason. I would say they're approaching, I don't know, a quarter of the way done, maybe.
Yeah, so yesterday when this was taken, and just after this, I believe they were installing more roof panels. I was watching the cams, specifically Lab Cam, which has just been focused on this entire build for a while, and they finally were moving around a lot of panels. So it's growing now. It's just taken quite a bit of time. There's also a lot of cones up there for safety reasons. They don't want people to walk on areas that are not secured yet.
Yeah, this is it's really exciting just seeing the progress of this. I'm happy that they're actually making noticeable improvements on the inside. And I'm starting to think though that even though they are still making progress here, that Starbase 2 Starfactory may actually be. And sorry, when I say Starbase 2, I mean Starbase Kennedy. The Roberts Road factory, I have a feeling will be complete before this one.
Yeah, they have all fresh ground there. It's a green field. Here, they've got to manage production with construction and migrating and proving all at the same time with a limited number of staff. So, yeah, I think you might be right. I did want to mention though that the key takeaway from the whole going from the current Starbase to the future Starfactory is that you're going to have so much more improved means of production. You're going to have great workflow. You're going to have it more indoors. You're going to have less dust. You're going to have just everything's going to flow so much better, faster, more dedicated stations to particular task. Maybe even more automation and robots. But it's just going to work out really well for them to have that high cadence of production.
Yeah, and I actually kind of planned to save this topic for an episode, but I think this is really fun to talk about here. So I'm having Max Q is in the background. He's going to grab us a picture from Greg Scott of the Starbase 2 factory. And from there, we will be able to get a better image or better idea of what this building looks like in comparison to the second one, as far as what we can tell so far. I just
Nice.
noticed this pipe in the background right
I
here.
have a
Is that
question.
being lowered in?
It looks like it.
It looks like it continues to go off to the pipe, the bottom right there. It's just that this one is at a slight angle because it's only secured at one point, or the guy is holding it or something.
Is this the same thing as what's going around the?
It's
Ooh.
another piece. So zoom in at the top left of there. You can see another pipe, just the corner top piece of the white boom lift piece.
White boom lift piece.
So that's the one he's talking about,
corner,
Thomas?
just to the corner to the right. So go down, and there it is, right there.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow. How do you even see that? My goodness.
These look like water pipes. If that's not the same thing as what's in the back right here, I mean, these And when you see it from this angle, this looks a lot larger, but that could just be the parallax. Maybe it is the same, but that kind of looks like a water pipe to me.
Yeah, so a lot of facilities you'll have like hot, cold water, or you need compressed air. There's all sorts of things that you need and want to be able to move around. So fluids and gases are critical to be able to move around like that.
Do we know what the welds are on the ceiling, the top beams, and only on those in like the middle section?
Great question. I'm not 100% sure on that one. You mean like on the outside right here?
So no, actually, if you look at the ceiling beams, the top ones where the lifts are, you can see right there. See it down there, the brown ones? Those
Yeah,
welds.
they put more material on. It looks like they want to strengthen those particular elements.
Oh, just in that section though?
It might be due to the AC units or something like that.
Oh.
Right. Yeah, these look like stiffening boards or stiffening panels, possibly. I don't know if that's what they are. I mean, that kind of doesn't really make sense because these roof beams are so much bigger. Like, I don't know if these are actually stiffening panels. I think
Well,
somebody
look at the
replied.
right hand side real quick and see if they have those the same on the right hand side as well.
They
I'm gonna
don't.
have to
Not
swap
yet.
Yeah, so it
anyway.
must be for stiffening just on that left side, but it should have weight kind of distributed between both sides.
I feel like they do have them up there. It stops.
Where? Just those?
It looks different.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I've been keeping an eye on that for a few weeks now, but it's kind of hard to tell what they're actually used for. And it looks like we got an image right now from MaxQ, so I can kind of swap over and show you guys that. So this right here is the Starfactory at the Roberts Road facility, and man, this is a completely different building.
Wow.
I don't
Is
care
that
The way
what
they're
I don't
building
care
it
what the
is,
renders say. It's not the same building at all.
Yeah. It looks
well,
like
they're building the
multiple
roof
buildings.
first. They're building the
Yes.
roof first, and then they're going to lift the roof as panels directly onto the rest of it.
Yeah, and sorry if you guys hear a bunch of noise in the background. Got some construction work going on outside today.
Actually, we don't hear anything other than you.
I
Okay,
wish we could
then
hear. I mean, it would give the ambiance of the scene a little bit more
well,
rhythm here.
my mother is having her driveway extended, so we got some heavy machinery in the back. Yeah, I'm glad you
Fun
guys can hear
times.
it. We're good to
Wow.
go.
It's actually less noisy than Chicago.
Oh man, nothing touches Chicago noise, that's for sure.
No
um,
cops either.
but these not only are they doing the roof first, and sorry, when I'm zooming in here, it's going to be kind of weird. But not only are they doing the roof first, these roof supports are completely different than they are at Starbase.
Yeah.
So none of this is the same. And this based on the renders, I believe this should be the tall side of the building.
So I'm not a civil engineer, but this reminds me greatly of some videos I've seen of the construction of, and I hate to even say the competition, but the Amazon factory. They build theirs much the same way, where they build the roof first, they lay the groundwork, and then they actually pump the concrete in almost last.
So is that what they did with Gigafactory? Tesla?
I don't remember how they built Gigafactory.
And I'm curious, the stacking on the left of the roof pieces, is that intentional? Is it just stacking, or is there a reason why there are layers to it?
Over here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can switch back to that other
You're
image.
okay.
It is a lot closer. And this one's actually good too. Let me use this one instead. So yeah, these piles right here, basically they have almost the entire roof, all of the steel for the entire roof of the building on site already. They're not messing around down here at all. This kind of makes Starbase looks like a joke, in my opinion, as far as the rate that they move. Did you hear me stutter when I said that? I'm like, do I want to say that? Yeah, but the rate that they're moving down here is absolutely insane.
Perhaps the word is prototype. Makes Starbase look like the prototype.
Well, Starbase was the prototype.
The
They had to
Pathfinder.
find out how much floor space they needed, how they needed to do the construction. They were using the tents. Now they're using something a bit more permanent at Starbase and here. But the way they're doing it here, I suspect it's hurricane rated for more than just a Category 3, which I think that's what the Texas area is supposed to be. I
Only
think
a
here it
3?
might be.
Because
I
they've
think it's
had
only a
fives.
hurricane. I think it only needs to be rated to a 3.
That's our standard as well for hurricane proof for facilities like this.
So Florida might be a little bit more on the we will get hit by a hurricane category 5, so they might have a bit more of a higher standard. I'm guessing on this one.
To your point, though, Zach, this right here is why I'm strongly considering moving to the Cape rather than Brownsville. I think this might be the true center of development in a few years, and it's great watching it grow.
100%. And while we're on this image, we might as well talk about the other elephant in the room. So if you guys typically I wouldn't want to do this, but if I talked about this a little earlier in my YouTube video that came out last night, but I think it's a really good idea that we talk about it here because I want to get some other opinions, especially from the audience as well too. So these are the current state of the chopsticks in Florida. So as you guys can tell, these are a lot shorter, and there's not really any other material on site to build out the rest of these as far as you know hold on, let me swap to this other image really quick because this might show it a little bit better, and you can't see them on the other side. So even down here though, you can't really see any other, there's not much more of the steel pipes that are needed to weld these together. So this right here is pretty much the length, in my opinion, of the new chopsticks, and
Wow.
I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
Like
That's
number
bold.
one, yeah, super bold. It's scary in a way. I like it because it just shows, number one, it shows that even though SpaceX hasn't been doing a lot of actual like flight testing, there's a ton of actual they like in their eyes, they've already flown it like 100 times due to all of the simulation data and all that stuff that they have. And in my opinion, this is another one of those simulation data decisions where the numbers tell you, yeah, we can shorten the arms. So I mean, there's a lot of advantages in doing that. I think let's go ahead and go back to Starbase. Actually, we're going to be jumping around a little bit right now.
Well, I'm before you move on. Can you get a little bit more on the right hand side, because I'm looking at that and it almost looks symmetrical, as if it's the same chopstick pieces just mirrored.
Yeah. So I mean, you do have both. This is the same. This is 2 arms.
Okay, so it's left and right, but I don't think it's going to end up being that length. I think they're going to pick them up and rotate them.
So this is the thing that I touched on in the video. If you guys haven't seen it, I recommend watching it. It's put a lot into it, and I actually want to get opinions on this, which is why I'm talking about it right now. So it's tough to see in this image, and I'm not sure why it's not showing up in full resolution right now, but this landing rail right here, which is what the booster actually lands on top of, you can see the second one in the background, and that one is cut in half. So these are delivered as one piece, and they're cutting them in half.
Can I give you my speculation?
Yes.
So I fully support your idea that the shorter arms, it's a possibility. But in my mind, I think why? It removes capability. With the longer arms, you have more of an area to catch on. I do think they are going to try to catch as close to the tower as possible. And yeah, a shorter arm might work out. But it works out at the cost of having less runway to land on, and you never know. I mean, even with the modern SpaceX Falcon 9 booster landings, they're getting really, really good. But I don't know that I can trust the booster to land that good every time, and I wouldn't want to risk a failure or a RUD because it landed 5 feet out away from the booster. And if you look at the overlay of the short arms over the launch mount, if it misses the arms, I mean, it just, look where it would land. It's
here's what we really need. What we really need in this situation is an overlay of the ocean platforms, the drone ships. Because what was that?
I thought you were talking about Deimos and Phobos, but you're talking about like.
Of course, I still love you.
Yes.
Yes. So the Falcon 9 drone ships, I have a feeling that the landing area is probably smaller than the actual. I know it's smaller than the orbital launch mount. So I think we talked. It's actually smaller than it's about right around this edge of the launch mount, right? We were talking before, just joking about trying to land a Falcon 9 in the middle of the launch mount, but it wouldn't work because the legs would clip the edge. But I personally, if not for those legs clipping the edge, I think SpaceX could pull something like that off. Like, I definitely have confidence in them
Me too.
being able to do that. I mean, and you really have, I guess your diameter of your booster is like probably up to here, so you have all the way
So
up. I don't know.
no
It
mouse.
is a slim margin. It's sketchy. Let's just say that it's very
It,
But
sketchy.
you look at how many times they've landed on those drone ships perfectly in the center. Like literally every single time, maybe save for 2 in the last year, in the
so
And
beginning of the
so
year.
I
and on top of that, those drone ships are doing station keeping at the same time, which means
Yes.
a lot of times and if you guys don't know what station keeping is, it's when you're in the water, there's a ton of waves, and you're trying to maintain a certain GPS position. So the waves are pushing you in one direction, so you have to turn in the opposite direction and um, be using the what do they call them? I'm gonna call them jets on the I forget what
Stabilizers?
the propulsion system for the
Impellers.
for the barge.
yeah, the
Yeah.
propellers. Yeah, so using your propellers to keep yourself in position. And so while they're maintaining position by actively steering that vessel, the booster's doing the same thing. In this case, it's a stationary object. It's not a moving object like it is in the ocean. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be way easier
Yep.
to land, in my opinion. And for that reason alone, I would not be surprised if they try to catch it on the first launch attempt.
So I did a
If
quick. Sorry, I did a quick measure on the left one. You're looking at about 55 feet versus the right one about 120 feet. So there's quite a bit of difference in the length there.
So if the first time I play devil's advocate, let me play angel's advocate right here. So what we're looking at is the advantage of having the shorter arms is it's got less mass. You can move more quickly. That means if the problem isn't the runway, but the problem is aligning perfectly to where the booster is coming down, this makes it more capable to have shorter arms, quicker to activate and to move to the right location. So yeah, it might be a win in that way. And the x-axis forward and back from the launch tower, that may not be as big of a concern. So yeah, it might work out better to have shorter arms, and that's why they're doing it that way.
And for
Yeah,
anybody who hasn't seen that CSI video that Zach made, it is worth watching. It is fabulous. We have cameos from Jax and Nate, who was on the stream last week, and the link is in the chat. So you guys should watch it if you haven't already. I highly recommend it, and I'm not biased. Well, maybe a little biased, but
don't
that's not
leave
the
though.
point.
Hopefully
Yeah,
they
not
don't leave.
now. Don't do it now.
So, I wanted to. Oh man, I don't know if we have the right shot of it. I think I may have one. Let's see. Right here, this will do it. So, I think one of the justifications for why they would shorten this down is um, to reduce the torque on the arms. So, right now they are clearly trying to improve the speed that the chopsticks move at. So, I think the next time we see them use the chopsticks, they'll be significantly faster than what we've seen before. Um, and now that I realize that these are actually for the chopstick actuators and not for the landing rail, it makes sense that you need so these are basically COPVs in the back. They're painted COPVs. They're basically like an expansion chamber or like a pillow. So like when your pistons are being actuated on the other side as they're compressing, this tank is like your it's like a almost like a spring. So for this would allow you to move the arms way faster and also stop them faster without blowing out the piston. So they did not have this at all initially. They did have an accumulator up at the top of the launch tower or the middle of the launch tower, but it's nowhere near as large as these. And now there's two of them. So it seems like they're already putting in work to not only be able to move them faster, but to be able to stop them quickly, because you don't want to like come in super fast and then try and stop them, and then they actually like collide with the edge of the booster. So I think that, let's see, I would even go as far to say as this is their solution to not shortening the chopsticks at Starbase. So by doing this, they're able to move them at the rate that they need to, but at the other facility, or the other chopsticks being half the weight, they won't need as much, possibly, in order to move them at the same speed. Just a thought.
All right, we are 1 hour in. And with that, Mauricio, any comments or have any questions come in? Oh,
We lose
Mauricio
Mauricio?
ran.
Yeah, he's currently muted, so he might not be here, or he's not able to talk.
Yeah, that's fine. And with that being said, with it being 1 hour into the show, if you guys haven't done so already, please do us a favor and hit that like button. It really helps us out for these live streams, just trying to build up our audience. And we really appreciate you guys being here every single week. And I think we're at episode 29, or is it
30.
30.
30,
30.
30,
30
30.
episodes in.
We're in
So
the
those
dirty
of you who
30s
have,
now.
if you guys have been here for 30 weeks, I think we tried to do this last week, and there was only a few, so I'm not gonna do it this week. But shout out to everybody who's been here for all those episodes. It's been quite the journey, starting from where we started from to being where we are right now. So we really appreciate you guys being here, and I'm glad that it continues. It feels like it's getting more exciting every week, even when we don't have flyover images. So with that being said, I should hop back over to the Sanchez site. Okay. I don't know where we're looking at, but this is interesting. Actually, I have a feeling.
It's the pile of
Okay,
dirt right next to the
I know what
empty
this is.
lot.
Yeah,
I thought that was a pile of gravel last week.
it was, and now they changed it again, and it's a pile of sand, or is that just dirt?
Dirt.
Looks like sand.
Sandy
See how
dirt.
it's falling?
Dirt falls.
Yeah. So the plot thickens, literally. We still
Looks
don't know what
like
they're doing.
backfill aggregate or something like that.
That's really funny. The plot literally thickens. The plot of land. Good job. You should be a dad.
I know.
Wow.
Well, no, I should not be a dad. My dad is actually listening right now, and he probably agrees. Actually, no, he probably disagrees.
Ah,
We're not
I
going to
would
talk
think he
about that,
would
though.
think he did a good job.
No, he wants me to be a dad, but
Exactly.
can't force these things.
In
So
time. All in good time, my friend.
he's about to text me in like 3 seconds. So
Mauricio's
continue.
back if you had those questions for him. Or not.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, I was seeing if we had any questions come in or any comments. Yeah, we're just an hour in.
Okay, so I guess the latest question here is somebody's asking, where can I find that lovely TPS wallpaper that Zach is using? And I guess I'll answer that one.
Yeah.
I guess it's been out for a while, but we haven't really posted it lately. So I think I can find that link and post it in the yeah, that one right there.
That one's
Stunning.
beautiful. Didn't your wife pick this one out?
Yeah, I mean the story behind that is the story behind that is I was going through some photos and she's like, "That's actually a pretty good photo right there." And I wasn't planning on, believe it or not, I wasn't planning on releasing that image. She kind of convinced me to do it as a wallpaper, and people like it. So
No lie, that's been my wallpaper for months and months.
And the moral of the story is always listen to your wife, Mauricio.
yeah, she's usually right. So
Yeah, that's how it usually goes. But so man, without seeing this from the air, we can't really tell like what they're doing back here right now. All we know is still tons of progress, and they're raising it up even more as if it wasn't high enough already. So yeah, that's a ton of gravel being brought in there, and obviously this is going to become important at some point, I have a feeling, but this is just the start of this project. And one thing that we should point out is that when they did the orbital tank farm, in my opinion, it started off a lot like this. A ton, like months and months and months of dirt slash rocks slash gravel getting brought in and layered on top of each other in order to stop it from sinking. So I'm starting to think that potentially we'll see another large structure here, but I don't know. That's a tough one.
Could
I
it?
would really love. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, could it mirror the structure they're making with the gravel? Remember we saw the gravel they were flattening and all that stuff down by the corner of, I want to say Sanchez, but it's not Sanchez. Or is this the same?
It's the
This is
same
the same.
corner.
Oh,
So right now we're looking at the thick rock. That is the same as we saw in the previous flyovers, where they constantly just add it up, and then this is just right next to it.
Yeah. So this is like the high bay is right behind this,
okay.
and yeah, and as some of you guys might be wondering why we're spending so much time on this, but this is an area that we have been trying to figure out for quite a while. So, uh, every time we see massive amounts of dirt like this moving in, it's not just, oh, we want dirt. There's definitely going to be something important here at some point. So,
Dirt and concrete, the foundations of the future.
yes. So moving on, I think I'll just like slide through these images individually just to make sure we're not passing over anything interesting at the Sanchez site. However, we got the dome yard coming up soon, which is always everybody's favorite. There's a lot of action happening over there, so I'm gonna slowly work our way over. Most of this stuff really hasn't moved for months on months. These are the test tanks that they used for. Um, this one was the first can crusher, right?
No, this is not the first can crusher test. That one's just to the
Mongrel.
left. So this one would be, yeah, that one's 2.1. This is like 2.2 or something like
I
that.
thought it was 7.1 mongrel.
Well, we already have a 7.1.
I know, we had two. That's why.
Two. That's
We
so
had
confusing.
two. Yeah, well, high bay, mid bay, wide bay 2,
Yeah.
mega bay. It's all kind of falls in line with everything.
This is. I've said this before, but until you actually see this in person, matter of fact, zooming in on it like this is what it looks like when you're outside of it. It's insanely large. Like when you look at it in these pictures, you can't really get a grasp of how big this thing is. But then when you stand next to it, you're like, okay, wow, that's only as seven or so ring sections compared to what it takes to build an entire booster. I mean, you can see the cars next to it. Um, you could live inside of this if you build out the floors easily.
It would get kind of hot though. Just saying.
Probably, yeah. You just gotta throw some
Not,
ventilation.
that'd be a nice place to do some HLS proving for life support. Just throw some guys in there for 2 weeks at a time and seal it up and see what happens.
They've actually done some of that with their airlock experiments, I think. This is the stuff that we saw ages ago. It was all taking place in Hawthorne, and they posted pictures of it. It was amazing. Indian Star even got some pictures of the other parts of the HLS systems that are just sitting outside.
And
I
the
was in
chain.
I was in Houston at NASA recently, and they have a facility there where they pretty much do that repeatedly for like 40 days up to 6 months, where they'll send a crew in and test out a whole bunch of systems and maintenance and operations. And they live on Earth, but act like they're living in space or a colony or whatever means they're testing out. It's pretty neat.
Oh,
Just
so I think was this ship 16 and still in the process of being disassembled?
no disassemble.
Yeah,
so-
it's just still sitting there.
yeah, you guys can see now that they've removed a lot of the stuff off the side. There's still a little bit more to go. This is probably one of the sections of the ship that takes the longest to scrap. Same with the booster. The aft section takes forever. So
It's
Yes.
ITAR. There's like an ITAR bin. They throw in all the stuff that is ITAR restricted content that they can't just scrap and send to the scrap dealer.
yeah, it's finally almost fully dead though. So we're getting close. And we're gonna skip through these Starfactory images since we kind of touched on those already. Um, and I think this.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got all of the rest of the top plate on this structure done. Last week it was just the about 2 sections in the middle across from each other that were the top plate, and now it's got the entire thing done.
Oh, this is a plate up here.
Yeah.
So this used to be in the Sanchez site, and it looks like it's now at the build site.
It's still at the Sanchez site.
Oh, this is the Sanchez site.
Yeah. The white building in the background is the giveaway.
Okay, yeah.
They're all white buildings still.
Well, this one's a little bit different.
Yeah, this is gonna have to be something related to boosters. There's 20 of these V cuts shapes through here, so I have a feeling that we'll see what do you call it, clamps or something up here in order to hold tank sections. So this would probably go inside of the Mega Bay and potentially be like a turntable that allows them to spin it around in circles. But honestly, we kind of say that about everything that's this shape because we can't really think of any other uses for them other than to be inside of the Mega Bay at some point. So I think soon we'll see this move over.
I go Starfactory with this one.
Really?
Yeah. So they need to do their production for boosters, but they would need to do it in the Starfactory. So Mega Bay may be temporarily, but Starfactory is where stuff like this will be headed. This would be for production.
Okay. Yeah, we oh wow, okay. Didn't realize we had a full image of it coming up. I could have just went to that one.
And a Kia. Nice.
So looking over here, I believe this is the bottom of ship 20. Ship 20.
20?
Yeah, we got the engines down here. You can see the
Yeah,
RVACs.
you're right. Very good. Sorry.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
This is the
The
one
fact
that
that
Probably even
that
Go ahead.
trespasser walked by, right? In the rocket garden?
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
I saw somebody do that yesterday.
Yeah.
They went up to the fence for the launch site and just ducked under the thing and started walking in as if like that was completely normal. Security guard ran over and said, "No, do you have a work pass? Do you have your ID?"
Badge, yeah.
And they're like, "No, I don't work here. So you're not supposed to be here."
What part of employees
Yeah,
only
if
don't you
if you're
understand?
if you're there and where you're not supposed to be, they can have you arrested. So don't do it.
But beyond that, you guys are going to ruin it for the rest of us who want to come see it and can see it from a distance and want to enjoy it. I mean, they're going to wall off everything if we're not careful.
Well, they already are to some degree, but
So, yeah, visiting down there and getting to see these ships as close as we are has been one of the biggest joys I've had in a long time. And, you can get very reasonably close, and these are very large ships. You can surely appreciate just how great everything is from the roadside and from where you're allowed to be. And there are plenty of places you're allowed to be, and it's safe. So, just be safe out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And speaking of safe, we also want to thank I Am Nate for his donation, as well as Jim Cabot for his donation. Both donated a little bit of money that we genuinely appreciate and very much need. So thank you both.
Thanks, guys. And Nate is not only a contributor, he also helped host last week.
He's a commentator too. Commentator too.
All around swell guy. And that Jim guy, every week. He's great.
Speaking of all around, those work platforms that are round in the center, they're coming along pretty well.
Work
Oh,
platforms.
yeah, it looks
Those
like-
are round? These gray things?
Yeah, on the right hand side, you can't see it here, but it's got a round diameter that will fit any booster or starship up against the basically the corner of Mega Bay, where they're going to stick this thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. There's at least 4 of them. There are probably more now. So these are basically going to end up making the high bay similar to the VAB.
Not the
so hopefully-
VAB.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. A bunch of work platforms in there, and I think
It will be.
I'm hoping that we get some renders to show what it would look like next week. But for now, you guys can see the handrails that go along the platform. So these will basically get lifted up inside of the Mega Bay into the corners, and that will allow them to work on the booster without having all of the boom lifts inside of there.
Oh wow! And what about the white box that carries the Starlink stuff in it? The Pez dispenser. Would that also be something that they can achieve or get to once with these walkways?
I doubt it. I think that will always be lifted with the bridge crane. So,
Okay.
I mean, there is a possibility that they could mount that thing on the wall, but then they would need to lower it down and add Starlinks in there and then lift it back up. So I have a feeling it's going to remain a crane operation for now.
I'm super interested in how they're going to load, vertically integrate payloads with NASA, most of their ships stack. So when you load the satellite payload, it just goes straight down. With the shuttle, and with Falcon, a lot of times it's horizontally integrated, where it's on the ground and you lay it in. With Starship, man, it's going to be really interesting how they're going to lift something up and then push it sideways into the ship. And not just talking about Starlinks, but what if they're doing the next generation telescope or a satellite to Pluto? It's going to take a whole different way of loading it in.
I have a feeling they moved. Did they move the Pez dispenser away from the front of the high bay?
Seems like it. We haven't seen it.
We'll have to play Where's Waldo and find
It's
it
in
later.
Tent
guess
1.
it's
Jaxie already
one.
played in 1. Chief
So-
actually saw the picture. Sorry, GP.
No, you're fine. I'm wanted to switch over to this aerial image, just so I can show that transport stand that stand we were looking at earlier. This is what it looks like from the sky. So much different than a lot of the other ring type sections that we've seen as far as like ground support equipment goes. So nowhere near as like wide as everything else is as far as like the actual platform goes. So I don't know. It kind of looks to me like just single ring sections or ring stacks will sit on top of this. Keep our eye on it for sure. And we have one more image as well to show you guys from the aerial view. And if you guys haven't seen
Oh, wow.
the episode from this or last night, then check that out. I talked about these quite a bit as well. You can see the platforms. There's 4 of them under construction. There's a bunch of bridge walkways as well too, and then a ton of other pieces laying around site for them to add more.
So I have a throwback question for you. Do you remember when we saw those stands with the platforms with the circle in the middle? Are these those same stands? Do you remember them?
Well, there's never been anything like this yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this goes inside of the building, so we haven't seen anything like this before. Like an actual structure for the interior of the building. So this is definitely a first, and it's going to be pretty exciting when they actually put these in there. If we ever get to see them, it's going to be a little bit difficult to actually see them unless Elon sends us a picture of the inside of the bay. But you never know; we could get lucky.
Hey, Elon, could we have a picture inside the bay, please?
Yeah, once it's done. So swapping back over to those ground images. Let me full screen that again. Sorry. I'm itching right now to get over to the launch site, but I know that there's stuff that we should cover in here. Unless anybody has any objections and would like to talk about the launch mount. We can go by the crowd reaction. Would you guys want to work our way there gradually? Or do we just go over there now?
Can I vote we speed run through and talk diligently about all this fun photography and work our way there?
This
Do
is
it.
a
What do you have in mid bay there?
beautiful structure, though. Good picture, Mauricio. Ooh, look at that.
So let's see if I got some better views of this. This is still ship 25.
25. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't stacked that yet.
Yeah, it looks like they still have to mount something on here. I believe the wait.
Yeah, that'd be for the raceway.
Yeah, the raceway. So I think they mounted the raceway on before full stack last time. They actually mounted the raceway inside of the mid bay. So I think that's one of those things that we are waiting on to happen. Oops, before they can full
Yeah,
stack.
they also did a pretty innovative job of including the entire all the pneumatics, hydraulics, electrical into the raceway before lifting the whole thing and just putting it all on at once. It was pretty neat.
We might want to do a poll for your question there, Zach. I don't know, Mauricio, if you want to start a poll, should we move on or should we?
Okay, we'll work our way there. It's fine.
So-
It's only what, like 120?
Yeah, you're good. You have plenty of time. I was curious, what are the little clippy things that look like they're folded out? Are they part of the structure?
That is to the left. You could see that is the
Yes.
structure that would be for screwing and bolting, as far as all of the elements that will be for the flap, the bottom flap. And this is the left-hand side one. There's one for the right-hand side.
So is
on
it
the upper wall.
attached
It's
or
just-
is it separate?
It's
No,
hanging on the wall.
Okay. Okay.
It's a
There's a strap
jig.
here.
No, that's just electrical line
Oh wait,
back
this is
there.
the strap right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know if we have another angle of it, but it's just it hangs off the wall.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
not
just
electrical
basically
line
a
is the green
position.
stuff. That was looked like actually pneumatic.
And we normally don't see it in this position, correct?
We do. We talked about this, I think, 2 episodes ago, maybe when we were able to see the full thing.
Okay.
I think
My
we
bad.
will probably actually be able to get another view of it coming up here soon too. So we will see the other one on the other side, I think. So right here, this would be a booster section, I'm guessing. Max Q says B9 aft section. So this could be the LOX tank right here. Some weird clips coming off the side right here. I think this is where the COPVs mount to, possibly. Not 100% positive on that one. But yeah, this should be that liquid oxygen tank for booster number 9. And as far as booster number 8 goes, I think we may have some images of that too, but booster number 8 is fully stacked inside of the Widebay, so we probably should see that coming out in... Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if booster 8 exits the high bay before booster 7. So these are more booster sections here as well too.
I love the raceway.
Yeah, these are all lock sections, by the way. You can tell by how dense the stringers are.
Yeah, so the stringers, you guys can see them. They're actually mounted on the inside of here, and these are the weld marks going all the way down the tank of where they're mounted to. So
That's
yeah,
all for booster 9, section 2, 3, 4.
About to get some serious stacking here soon.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to have, what would that be, back to 4 fully stacked boosters before the first orbital flight.
No, I hope not. I hope they can yeet these away faster than they're building them.
Well, isn't that why we only have so many stands? Because that is the thought that they will cycle through them and we don't need to build more stands?
Well, they're definitely building more stands. They have 2. There's one under construction right now, which I actually don't know if we saw it in those earlier images. There's one under construction at the Sanchez site.
Yeah, you briefly showed it earlier, and that's the one just to the right. 3 pictures, 4 pictures, 5. There, just 2 more. There you go. One over to the right. Right. 2 more. There you go.
There
That
we
one.
go.
That's it.
Barely see it. So
It's a
normally,
new baby.
yeah, way taller up in the air. I don't think it's sitting on its normal stance because usually it's higher up in the air than this. But this is weird. Some of the things actually kind of look a little different on this to me.
Yeah. Are those gold things sticking out new?
No, those have been there from the beginning for every
Always
version of
gold?
these. They're not gold. It's just rust.
Oh.
They need a piece to put a screw in, or bolt really, to push up and down on the piece that they put above it, which is the part that laterally slides in and out towards the booster that holds it up and everything else. So that is really a jig. It doesn't need to be there after it's done. It's just left there.
Mauricio has a really good poll in the chat. Mauricio, you want to talk about that real fast?
Yeah, so it's really straight to the point. How much delay do you think the Booster 7 Anomaly, or the explosion, right? What we saw last week, right? Wait.
Yeah. I think it was last Tuesday,
week.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I put 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or just for the fun of it, 1 year for those people that.
No.
God forbid a year. I guess it depends also when you think it was going to do its orbital launch.
Yeah, I would say that depends a lot on... I wouldn't be surprised if that depends more on the launch mount than the actual booster.
I should have rephrased it a little bit more, the question. It should have been more of how much of a setback, it was at a 1 week, 2 week, or 3 week setback. Not much, because we don't actually know the orbital date.
So the question basically would be the time until the booster is back and being tested again.
So I don't want to influence the poll, so I'll hold my discussion until we get down to the launch mount.
I like influencing polls.
You can click on what you'd like, Grandpa Joe. Just don't tell everybody else until the results are in.
I like influencing polls as well. What is this? This is amazing.
Booster 5, aft section.
Nice. What's the plate at the bottom there?
This is where the stabilizer pin attaches to.
Aha.
Hey, and once they're done removing the rest of this and ITAR restricted material, we got a new transport stand ready and available, and maybe they could reuse it for once.
Yeah, this is really good that they'll be able to reuse this one. They're still working pretty quick to finish the other one, but I think this will be good that they have another one available. And I wanted to actually, I'm gonna grab a video hopefully to show you guys. If you haven't seen the destack process, there's a really cool video just showing the basically those stabilizer pins that we were just talking about. So for those of you who haven't seen them, we can probably show it really quickly here once I find the correct image.
Do they ever reuse those COPVs? Like they're not used, they're not touched, they're there. I know
They're
it's
already used, so they're
Are they?
they're done. Yeah.
No, I think they reuse them. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason why not to. They're planning on reusing them multiple times on the same ship. You're just talking about unmounting them and remounting them.
But he
Well,
doesn't want to use COPVs anymore. He being Elon.
I don't think he has a choice.
Well, wait. He is still using COPVs in all
Because he has
future.
to. Not because he
but,
wants to.
Well, yeah, but he will have to and continue to have to. You need some form of compressed air to run some things.
Isn't that what the
no,
UH
he's trying to go.
Sorry,
He's
go ahead,
trying to go
Thomas.
for batteries for a lot of stuff. So hydraulics, they have used COPVs for hydraulics. If they can get rid of the COPVs, the hydraulic fluids, all of the hydraulic systems, and they are doing that. He did confirm that they are going to electric driven TVC, the thrust vector control.
Not to disagree with Elon, but I think if they move to pneumatic TVC, thrust vector control, then you don't need the batteries or the electrical, and you can refill it with the ullage and keep on trucking. It'd be a cost and complexity savings.
Unfortunately, it's too spongy. That's the issue with using gases. That it's very compressible. You want to use something that's not compressible, like fluids or metal or something to really push against when you're moving those engines around.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think they're going to always have to have COPVs. Number one for helium, you're never going to get rid of those. You're probably also going to need to always maintain the ones that are used for spin up of the center engines. So getting rid of the stuff for thrust vector control makes sense, but I highly doubt all of them will ever go away.
Okay.
But just to show this really quick, I wanted to show the ending part of this. My whole house is vibrating right now. So this is where the stabilizer. You know what? You guys are gonna get mad if I don't show the whole thing.
Yeah,
I
man.
know. I was like, I want to see it. By the way, kudos for them being able to do this so quickly after the chopsticks had some issues.
Well, they removed that one on the right in front of us, that piston or whatever you want to call it.
I love when it goes in like that, when the bottom little hook catches.
Right.
That is so cool.
Yeah, you guys can see the. I guess we should talk about what's happening down here too. You can see the stabilizer arms down here grab onto the booster, followed by the second one later. And
is it later or simultaneous? I thought they went together.
Nope. So you can see the first one come in right here, and then shortly after that, the second one comes in.
You're absolutely right. Sorry.
So when they do it, it looks like they go all the way in first to make sure they have that connection, and then lift up a little bit and pull out. It's kind of hard to explain. You'd have to see that mechanism. It's very similar mechanism to
a trailer hitch on a truck.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but you give it a little pull, a tug to make sure it stays in.
So now we got the booster. Whoa.
Wow.
And if you guys missed it, the guide pins, this is interesting.
Whoa.
So the guide pins on the transport stand are actually coming up at the same time. I almost wish I didn't run this so fast, but you can see it right here. You see it shoot up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Peekaboo.
So this is definitely more automated in my opinion than last time. The stack. This seems a little bit more what's the right word for this?
Procedural.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So once this booster gets down here, you can see, I can explain what's happening. I'm going to slow it down. So first, you actually have, once it gets down to this side, I believe you can see as it moves right here that this is actually the other guide pin engaging on the backside. Oh, let's
You mean
not
the one
ignore
on
the
the
fact.
right?
Yeah, so you have one right here, and then there's one on the backside.
Yeah.
And you can see the backside one as it engages because it pushes the booster
Oh,
towards the
yeah.
second one.
Okay.
And then once this one engages, it pushes it again. So also, let's not skip over the fact that
Yeah.
these engines are significantly damaged. This one looks like it almost popped off. This one did pop off. That one's damaged. That one's
The
damaged.
the engines or the engine covers?
Covers, the engine covers. Well, the engines are damaged as well too because they
Yeah.
tried to swap one out and they weren't able to. So,
And that
um,
one you're pointing at looks like the little seal broke at the top there. The other one to the right of that?
this
Just
one.
to the right.
Oh, sorry, this right
The
here.
other right. Yeah, that one. At the top there, where the seam is, just a little bit in between. Okay. Yeah, right
Well,
there.
all of this looks messed up right here. Like
Yeah,
this looks separated on this side. I think it's only attached on this side still. I'm surprised they didn't take that off. But yeah, it's
the
bad.
little tab at the bottom is
Look at this.
broken.
The whole
That's
the whole
crazy.
is that the whole entire skirt
It
damaged?
looks
Yeah,
like
that's
it.
the skirt separated right there.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Looks like the
So
thing
Zach,
dropped.
you were saying they couldn't replace the engines.
They tried. They brought one out and they lifted it up underneath the launch mount and then they lowered it back down and took the booster off.
Oh, I thought they actually swapped that one out. So they took one out and then
Did they?
couldn't replace it and had to take it back.
Yeah, they put it. They took one out and put one
Put
in.
one
I
in.
never saw the old one come out like that. They replaced an engine while it was up there.
Yeah. It
That's
was
why I
only
thought
one though. It was only one.
I
And
guess
the
that's why I thought they tried to and then they didn't actually do it.
My hope for that engine was that it was very obviously damaged and that was the only one, and the rest are just inspections.
yeah, 86
That
got
would be
replaced with
very
45. There is a question
so
from 55 Chevy guy before you go too far from this. He's asking, are the bells of R24 and R21 cracked? And you can see it on that
no,
image.
there's so down here there's a bunch of wires set up on I don't really know what they're connecting to. These have been on both booster 4 and booster 7. We're not really 100% sure what they are. But yeah, it's just a bunch of wires that are coiled up right here. Yeah, this when I made this time lapse for booster 7 when they got lifted off the transport stand, and none of this happened as quickly as it happened here. Obviously, I sped this up pretty drastically. I almost missed this completely. I had to wake up at like 2 in the morning. I had a nightmare, like, oh my god, I forgot to get that video. So I went back and got this. But yeah, this is really, really interesting procedure, especially being able to see it the whole way through once it's finally seated onto the transport stand. And even this part is pretty synchronized as far as
Wow.
the chopsticks moving out of the way immediately. Last time the booster had to move in between the chopsticks did not move out of the way, which was weird. So yeah, this time around everything seems to be a lot more programmed, I would say.
Yeah, this is where they get into a little bit of a oops.
Look at that. I like how it turned green. Real fast, one correction. It was 45 that replaced 86, not the other way around. Forgive me.
They're debating back and forth on that one.
And she gone.
She
All right.
gone.
Let me exit out of this one. So we're
Where's
back
Sky
at.
Prop when you need him?
Am I still showing this correctly? Cool. Double check that.
Did I really? Did I say it
Um,
again wrong? 45 replaced 86? 86 replaced 45. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't mind
One
me.
second, changing something up really quick on this side.
I said it right this time. Third
And I
time.
don't think we're going to be able to fix this. I'm looking at these margins on the side, but we're good. All right, so let's continue on.
Yeah.
So now that we basically went through that to explain what these the plate on the side is for, those stabilizer pins. So over here, this is booster 5 as well. That would be the methane tank dome, or basically the aft section or forward section. Sorry, get my words all mixed up today.
Welcome to my
But
world.
and I'm also really excited to get to the launch site. It's kind of distracting me a little bit. So over here, it looks like we have some grid fins on the ground. You can kind of see like the backside of that grid fin mount, how it actually attaches. You just barely see it. But this is really cool, just having them laying on the ground out here.
And Ground Truth is
And
in the chat just to say hello. Not to interrupt, sorry. Ground Truth is one of our favorites. Go ahead, sorry.
Yep.
oh, you're fine. Welcome, Ground Truth. Welcome everybody else who just joined us as well. It looks like we just had an additional 100 people just hop in here. So thank you to all the latecomers.
Woot woot.
We are slowly working through this. We haven't touched the launch site yet. I know a lot of you are wondering.
And we're going to talk about that video
Yep.
again, right?
Yeah, we will definitely be covering the Booster 7 incident once we get there.
Booster 7 gate.
Booster 7 gate, yeah. We have let's see. What are these?
Those are downcomer parts for the booster engines. We called them ice cream scoops on
Yeah,
Starship.
for the vac wraps, right?
On the vac wraps for the
That's true.
Starship is what you'd call those.
I call them ice cream
You said these are for
scoops.
the booster?
I think this one's the booster, because you do have some of those closer to the edge on the 20 that you need.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Yeah,
know they're
it's
for booster? Sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
Well, I think Rohan's saying that they're vac wrap mounts, not booster, but
Ha!
looking at the scale, it's a bit short.
Score one for Indian Star. Sorry, not that anyone's keeping score.
and
We all are.
1 second. I really need to adjust this because the image is kind of getting messed up on the side right here, and I don't know what's going on with that. So give me 1 second, guys.
Yeah, go ahead. Drive away, sir.
And while you do that, we want to thank Samsung0804 for his $5 donation. And he asks a very random question saying, seeing as R299 just got delivered, how far ahead do you think McGregor is, serial number wise, in engines being tested?
I would give them probably a net 20, where they have 20 that are in process of, final checks at McGregor to testing, firing, and packaging for delivery. So maybe I'll give them up to 120 have been built.
So
I would guess that McGregor has up to 150.
Oh boy.
So 150 would be their number that they would be just receiving from like Hawthorne kind of stuff.
Can I say one of the most exciting things in all of SpaceX that will never get covered is the Raptor 2 production at McGregor. They're building a facility not to rival Starfactory, but definitely a hell of a production operation there, so they can have just a high cadence of production. But man, if I could be part of one part of SpaceX, that would definitely be one of them right there.
Grandpa Joe, we should both apply.
Done. Let's do
it. Sorry, guys. I finally got the stuff fixed in the background, so we're good now. But the continuing on, I guess we have another booster app section right here. I'm guessing this is booster 10 or 9.
I think 9 is sleeved. 10 got. Yeah. Did 10 get sleeved, or it was about to be?
It's beautiful. It's
I know. Look at all those. Yeah, the ports for all
the ports on the side. We've seen these a few times before, but it's always cool to get to see it again before they actually throw all the stuff in here and sleeve it.
Do we normally see those little nozzles by the well doublers? Down lower, midway. See the holes? And just above the holes, those little like poking out things?
Are those mounting pins?
Those look like some sort of pneumatics for controlling the valves.
Well, yeah, because these would be gimbaling engines, right?
No, these are the outer engines. Sorry, so these would be for just turning it off and on for the valve itself. But it looks to be for specifically the lock side that it's opening and closing.
And forgive me, turning what off and on? Because these are for the gimbal or for the non-gimbal?
The main valve. So you can turn off an engine. You starve it of oxygen, and that will turn off the valve. Will basically be for the oxygen side, unless you are pressurizing it just on one side and there's no return. I believe that's just showing for locks only.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, and I've actually never seen those before. So
Yeah.
All right, we have ship 24's nose, 25's nose cone. So many of them, it's hard to remember. But yeah, we got the front side of it right here sticking out from behind the low bay.
25 nose cone.
Wait, did I say that?
Think so. I believe you said 25.
I did. Yeah, I think maybe we have some images of this from the backside. Let's see. I don't want to skip too far ahead.
Why does it look like that crane is tiled as well? Oh, that's not a crane, is it? That's part of the. Never mind.
I didn't see it.
You were
on the
talking about
left
the
there.
flap.
Yeah, I am talking about the flap. For a second there, I thought it was a boom or something for a crane. I was like, why does it have tiles on it? It's because it's not a crane.
-1 point to Hal,
Oh,
Cindy.
you shush you.
You got to crane your neck a little bit more there. That's
Oh,
what it is.
Is this a? I can't tell if this is a regular gantry or if this is actually a bridge crane. I think this is a gantry.
Those are
crane.
both gantries.
Okay, yeah, this bar going across the top almost makes it look like a bridge crane, but with a gantry crane in the background. But yeah, this is the inside of, I believe, tent 1, or yeah, tent 1.
It's looking pretty empty in there.
Kind of, yeah.
Which
You can't really
means-
see any tank sections on the side, so they
Well,
should
tent
be.
1 is the next tent that will most likely go.
Which is what
So they're
Zach
gonna-
was saying from the beginning. For Starfactory.
Yeah.
Right?
And it looks like Mauricio has placed another poll into the chat, so I'm going to mention that as well. And before I do, if you guys haven't done so already, please do us a favor and hit that like button. And if you guys would like to become a member, if you aren't already, you can do so as well. All you have to do is, how do you get to it actually? I haven't done this in a long time.
on YouTube?
Yes, to actually join as a member. I believe it's in the.
So if you go,
We're
it
gonna
should be in
pull
the
it up here.
description that allows you to subscribe. And then you can select if you want to be a member. See perks, subscribed. Right there where it says all that stuff.
Yeah, and so if you guys if you guys aren't patrons already and you join as a member to the channel, then you will receive all of the images as they come out before the show. So that's really awesome because then you get a chance to review everything before the show, and then you come up with any questions and bring them to us when you get here. So
Yep.
if you guys would like to join, you can do so. And like I said, I'm not the best at describing how to do it because it's been a while, but hopefully Indy's explanation was enough.
Yeah,
If
you
not,
want to
let us
click.
know. We'll-
Sorry, you want to click the join button. Mine says see perks because I'm already a member.
That's why I can't see it.
Yeah.
I just realized that real quick, I did the poll, but I didn't realize. I just kind of put it out there to see what people thought. But considering that there's no Raptors for Booster 8, it's probably unlikely that's gonna happen.
Why?
Well, we don't know that for sure.
Yeah, it's the same Raptors. Raptor 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen at least 3 more delivered this week. I assume they've been coming in at a pretty steady pace. So I don't know. There could be a lot of Raptors for Booster 8 already. And I did see a question about that. Somebody asked if Booster 8 would roll to launch site with engines installed, and
Yes.
the answer to that is no. Because it's gonna go on top of the launch mount first, just like Booster 7 did, and do cryo testing, and then come back to the launch build site and have engines installed.
So yeah.
It
So
may
the
not go on the
question.
can crusher again, but it should go on at least the launch mount.
And
They're the
just
same puck family, so they don't need to be can crushed.
So it's only when we change pucks we do the can crusher.
That's the general rule. So you're testing the strength of the new pucks. That's what you really want to do. So that's why currently we've got 7.1 out there that underwent the can crushing test. So that is the most useful apparatus in determining the structural stability of the puck, and even the crush test specifically for the way that you build the rest of it. So here's the can crusher.
So in
Or
theory, once
rather
we have
zoomed in on it.
our final product, or let's say we've defined what our product is going to be, Starship and Booster, then we're not going to do any more can crushing ever, just to test thrust pucks?
Any changes you will need to
But
test
if it's
the pucks.
status quo, it's status quo, and we no more can crushing.
Well,
I know that they've changed many things just for Falcon 9, for instance, over many years, where they kept changing a little element here or there, that they would go and do another structural test stand test, which that's what the can crusher is. And that was, probably, at the beginning it was pretty often, but now it's pretty rare because they're pretty much done with Falcon 9. So the only time that you'd need to is when you change an element that you have questions about. Is this going to make it better or worse?
Yeah. Sorry, find where we left off right there.
You would ask that question. It was actually from Todd Burnell, and he was asking, do you think B8 will have its Raptors if it does leave the high bay before B7 is repaired? So your answer your question is no? It'll get its
No.
Raptors at the launch site?
No.
Yeah. If it left with the Raptors, then it definitely won't be leaving before Booster 7.
And then along the same lines, Black Eagle asks, what booster do you think will be the first to feature R2s with electrical TVC, B9, B10, or another booster altogether?
I think they'll skip from 10 to maybe 15 and then throw on the electrical TVC there. I think 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all hydraulic.
So I just saw somebody said they now have the explosion data for verification of the can crusher test. I don't think that's how it works, but I appreciate the joke.
Is John Tate? Because that's gotta.
No.
Oh.
Oh wait, he did say, "Wow, okay, that is funny." Even funnier coming from John Tate.
Right?
If that's
That's why it's funny.
Um, so getting back to the front side of the Mega Bay, as you guys saw in that previous image, we have booster. I can't tell which one this is. It's either 7 or I think 7's in the left corner and 8 is right here. So this is booster 8, hopefully. I'm pretty sure that is. And once again, when we get to the top of the structure, you guys can see if you guys joined a little bit late. We talked about this at the beginning. They're adding on the uh, window supports, and this is really cool. Actually, being able to see it from this side, how tall these windows are. Number one, and number two, like how much space they're going to have up there in general. So you can see them adding these supports on, and then they will install a beam across here, similar to where they did right here, and then you will have the windows go in between those.
Super
So
fun.
2 layers of windows, not just one big window anymore.
No, I don't think the supports there are related to the windows directly as much as they are something else. I don't
Well,
know,
we do know
maybe.
that the windows are half this size. They're not square like this. They're rectangles. So that's the reason why I would suggest that it has something to do with the windows, because you're probably going to sit them on top of this beam. On the
Ah,
Yeah, so they'll rest on it a little bit, I believe, and then the rest of it will be secured up top.
So we do
From the
have
outside, I think that it'll probably just be a completely flat surface, so you don't have the glass literally resting on top of it. It would basically be a flush surface from one end to the other. It's just that you are having a small, thin gap where it expands and contracts a little bit for the top and bottom pieces.
So meaning that mid-beam is the gap?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then you're actually going to have, I think, quite a few pieces between. So it's a large amount of glass, but as far as the outside, it looks seamless, unless you see the lights from inside the office or whatever that's going to be in there.
There is a quick can crusher test. I know we've moved on, but our friend Nate Z is like, hey, don't forget about my question. He also donated $4.99, and he wants to know real fast, at what point do they move the can crusher back to Sanchez so they will have a normal cryo station for booster testing?
right ahead of B8 moving out. So once B8 is fully assembled, it won't have its engines on. They'll roll it out. They'll roll back 7.1 or 7.2 from the can crusher, and they'll remove the top hat. Take all that back to the Sanchez site, and then they'll roll out B8 and test it on the cryo station there.
Thanks, GPJ. Back to our regularly scheduled program, GB.
I got you, Nates.
Yeah, so we have our ship 25 nose cone again from the side view. Can't really tell a whole lot of changes on it since the last time we see it. I think there's a little more tiles on the bottom, but
Quality improvement. I mean, just look at the curve there. I mean, I know we talked about it last week, but man, what a great improvement in skills that they've got. This is Austin Bernard just learning how to do his job better every week.
So for those of you who don't know, Austin Bernard is a worker at SpaceX who got to start being a photographer. So he is, as far as we know, still working on the. He's a thermal protection system mechanic, I believe. I can't remember the full
Technician,
title.
yeah.
Technician, yeah.
But he's a Brownsville native and a good friend to the space YouTube and photography community, and just an all-around great guy. Good kid.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe and I got to meet him back in April of 2021. So this is during the launch of Ship 15.
So we're getting close to 2:00. So you guys know what that means. We're gonna have to be hitting the launch site soon, but we do have some more stuff to cover before we get there. Oh wow, this is the first time I've seen this building open like this in a long time. So now that we can finally see inside of here, this is what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just for boosters, I think. This looks like another turntable. So it has casters on the bottom of it. I believe those are casters. So this should be able to.
Well, what does the label right there say? It might just give us the direct.
Let's see if we got another image coming up.
Enhance.
Is this the ground support building?
Yeah.
Pizza oven.
So, yeah, that's what ground fabrications building or ground support equipment.
I can't really see what that says. A little tough, but
You know what
It
would
says-
help? Is
I think it
61
says
megapixels.
Right. Yeah. Get on it, Mauricio. I think the middle says LB. So it looks like a number of pounds.
60,000 pounds?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, 60,000 pounds, kilograms. No, I don't know.
yeah, this looks like the aft section of something will sit on here. Just because it has these mounting plates on it. But yeah, this is one of the few times we've seen inside of here lately. Let's see. Let's continue on. Oh, look, Thomas, we finally got some siding going up on here.
Finally, it's taken forever to get that siding replaced.
Really bad. Not gonna lie.
Well, it's not done yet. They're still working on it. I think they just need to make some massive adjustments. Ouch.
Why ouch?
Yeah. Do we call this heat wave distortion?
It's actually the roof line that's the thing that really doesn't look good, and that's not done yet. They still haven't even touched it. So by the time we look at it this next week, it'll probably look just as it should.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't used to this, we joke about stuff like this a lot. But we appreciate everything they do out there.
And love it. We wouldn't be here if we didn't love it.
Like
I love their brand new garage door. It looks great.
Look at that.
oops, sorry. There we go.
That's
I
a
was
lovely
wrong.
photo.
Booster 7 is on the right side. Booster 8 is on the left side.
Straight jackets
So
are
we
in the
have
middle.
Booster 8 right here. And you can see that all the pipework is installed inside, and you can see the joining weld down here.
Oh, they're doing an overlap weld again.
They didn't do that before, right?
They did overlaps, then they did butt joints where it's basically like the rings up above, where it's just one continuous single weld, not two welds. And now they're back to doing this again. So this is actually kind of unusual.
Yeah, that kind of stood out a little bit too. I'm glad you pointed that out. I can't really think of why they would need to do that. Like what would change that would cause that, but
I mean, it's faster to do the overlap welds like this. Honestly, I think it just fits a little bit better.
Could it be the vibration of the 33 Raptors?
Maybe they're just experimenting with different production techniques to see which one goes faster or produces stronger.
It could be that they decided that they were going to build this and stack it in here and not in high bay, so they don't have the machinery and the welding equipment to do it like they wanted to.
that makes sense. Yeah. Interesting. Does that shorten the height of the
2
the
inches,
booster?
just 2 inches, because the overlap joint is 4 inches total, but you're just overlapping by basically 2 inches subtracting is what you're really getting.
So we got ourselves a short booster.
I wonder
Well,
what
don't worry. When you put cryo in these, they shrink the entire Starship and booster combination. Actually, I think it's just the booster combination. It shrinks almost like a foot. It is
seriously?
a lot. Yeah,
So what?
it's just the material itself gets that cold. It shrinks.
Mm-hmm.
Just for some additional clarification, Rohan has told us that these, the weld doublers right here, not weld doublers, the overlap welds like this is when they weld by hand versus when they have the machine do it, the robot do it. So again, as Thomas mentioned, because they don't have those robots set up inside of High Bay 2 yet, this is their solution, is to hand weld it.
And apparently, Booster 7 still has this overlapped weld as well.
It does.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about it a bit more. And it used to be that every ring section was an overlap, so it would be minus 2 inches, and it would add up, and you'd have 4 ring sections at a time, but it would overlap pretty much every single one.
Didn't we say this is Booster 7?
This
8.
is 8. It has no
sorry.
grid fins.
Those
The
can be
right
corrected.
is Booster 8. That was what was pointed out, which we can't see because it's behind the wall.
Yeah, this is still looking really good. We're getting close to. I wonder if they'll roll it out without grid fins again, like they did the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they will continue to roll them out more complete, as they have pretty much with every Starship and even the boosters. That as they continue the production, they will basically be rolling these out more complete each time, until the point where we have boosters rolling out with brand new engines ready to basically do the cryos and static fires and everything else.
And Jen's Dave Avery to the rescue. On that circular jig that we saw, it said 60,000 pounds WLL, working load limit. Thank you, Dave Avery.
We were close. The WLL was missing.
Oh, nice. We got a backside shot of S24 again. 25.
Do you want to continue to move on directly to the launch site now? Because there's plenty to go over there, and we haven't touched it
taking my
nearly
time
enough
now.
yet.
You guys didn't want to.
As you should, Zach, as you should.
I'll get us there. Just give me a second. Let me. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything else that we should probably touch on. But we can always come back at the end. So let's do it.
We also have some super chats I want to just acknowledge real
Yeah.
fast. 10 euros from Jacqueline. She says, thank you all. $10 from Rocket Profit says, I will match Jax. Anyone else? I told you about Nate with his $4.99 and his question, as well as there was one more. There we go. Jim Cavett, $5. And he says, and he's very funny when he says this, how many cans could a can crusher crush if a crusher could crush cans?
So far, 2.
Okay. I don't know if I should go all the way back here and find this, but some people are feeling slighted that Booster 9 did not get to make an appearance today. So we are going to show that really quick. I got to figure out exactly where it is.
Booster who?
9.
What?
Is that in the,
That's it right there.
You actually pointed it out, I thought earlier. Oh, maybe not in
I don't
this.
think I noticed this earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Booster 9 here at the bottom of. Is this in the high bay? This must be the high bay.
Wide bay.
Sure it's not
Okay.
Widebay? Yeah.
So there's 3 boosters in the wide bay right now, which is, I guess, to be expected since they have so much space.
It's a whole family.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And they
They're
have a
moving
welding
quick.
station in Wide Bay. One welding station.
How many boosters did we calculate they could have in the Widebay at a time? Like
Wasn't it like
6?
16? Like total, if they could really squeeze them in there?
5.
Oh my God.
5 is what the answer is.
Yeah, I think if you're sheltering from a storm, maybe. I doubt. Well, no, we tried because if you put them on a transport stand, they're definitely not going to fit in there like that. So if you didn't have the transport stand involved, you may be able to do that. Just sit them on top of the engines. Okay,
Even
so,
when you fan through them so fast, it looks so cool to see the way that they transition like that.
yeah, you can kind of see Mauricio's
Yeah.
progression. He
It's like one of
moves
those.
through the site.
Yeah, when you draw those stick figures, and they're dancing or whatever, and you flip pages, that's what it looks like to me. Random thoughts by Indian Star. Don't mind me. Please carry on.
I'm just depressed already now that we're here. So, what do we do? Do we show the video one more time?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
One more time.
Can we play taps while we watch it?
You might get copyright strike, so probably not.
You can sing it though.
I'm going to swap over then. Let's see. Oh man.
I would like to note that Hoppy still doing fine. Nothing can bring Hoppy down.
Okay.
Don't
I
jinx her.
Having a little bit of an issue with this
It's okay. Take your time.
window. Not sure what's going on with that. It's a technical difficulty day here.
You know, we don't feel that. Just so you know.
I'm sure.
So while you're pulling that up, earlier this week I was rewatching the test flight for Starhopper, and man, just it's so spectacular they did that so early. And video rolling and not rolling.
No, I'm just gonna switch windows really quick. Sorry, guys. This is a really tough not having my normal setup that I have every week.
But it must be awesome to be home.
Yeah, it's
I'm
weird
gonna
how much open space there is in Colorado versus Chicago. It's big.
I'm gonna say that we get a pool going together on your CSI Patreon to get you a news van, so you can carry everything with you.
I would not mind that, actually. I do have monitors set up at here, my brother's house, my house, and my dad's house, so I'm fairly mobile, just not on the streaming side of things. So,
I do want to tell everybody a quick story. We're all going down to Boca Chica, and what does Zach bring with him in his luggage? Like a full screen monitor, just so he could have it.
I heard
in the
multiple,
hotel.
not just
no,
one.
just one.
Ah,
Yeah.
Well, he had the laptop and the monitor.
Yeah,
full size,
it was
27 or 43, or your big one?
it was the big one. No, not the big one, the really big one. But yeah, I had to travel with it because you never know when you're gonna need that stuff. So I got better stuff now that's more transportable. But
Do you check in a
uh,
monitor?
no.
All right, let's watch this explosion again here.
Oh, sorry, I'm on 25% speed still. So let me.
Actually, it's probably good. It's just we want to
yeah.
see it happen, and
Why
then 25% speed. I just don't know. Oh, there it is.
There we go. So I'm gonna back that up.
Love that piping going.
So I went through all of the different cams. So not just labs, but everybody's cams that caught this explosion, and it looked like it came from the ignition source. At least was not from below, but actually above the engines. It was looking like it came from the HPU cover.
Interesting.
So it's like the motor caught a little methane on fire, and it just continued to go for the rest of the way.
We have seen in the past where HPU covers explode or arc. I do have some videos of that. It might take me a little bit to find it, but
I'm also curious about the pressure wave. Do you see the pressure wave in this
Oh yeah,
view?
it's going faster than the speed of sound. That for the explosion to do that.
Whoa.
check this out. How did I
somebody-
find this so quickly, guys? Look at this. This is a video of Booster 4 when the HPU cover.
Still looking at Booster 7.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
1 second.
By the way, Scott Manley did the calculations based off of video frames, and he got it at right at sonic, just barely subsonic.
Hmm.
And that Scott Manley is one smart guy.
That's why we
So
like
the
him.
thing about that calculation is I don't know which video he used to do that, because if he used the Lab Padre ones, we had synced up the audio with the actual footage, so it would have appeared to be supersonic. And I briefly talked to Scott about that, and I didn't understand it at the time, but I think that's why he thought it was supersonic, was because we had synced the audio and the video together, so it appeared that the audio hit the camera at the same time as the video. So
But you're
I don't
looking
know
at
if he did that
actually
calculation.
you're looking at his wave fronts, not the sound. So the wave front of the flame versus and the size of distance. So using 9 meters as your diameter. That's the basis of the calculation.
Okay.
Yeah, it went 9 meters in 1/30th of a second was his metric.
The problem is we don't know any more than that as far
Right.
as that metric, because you can't get a finer measurement since there's only one frame. It's like it's on or it's off and it's on, and then it's full off to on.
So this right here is a similar event to what Thomas maybe is thinking.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is when Booster 4 had a explosion of the HPU on the launch mount. I think they actually swapped it out after this. Well, I'm just showing it more and more.
Yeah, they got the one for Booster 5. They replaced it.
Yeah.
I don't even
So
remember
that
this
is
one.
very well a possibility that could be something that happened.
I was thinking it's just more of the motor or something up there that
Right.
was the ignition source, or something else that could have been hot. But it seemed to be that if you looked at, let's say the first one that Lab has there, it seems it comes off on the left hand side and goes down, but it's not enough to be the big explosion where that is going to be all at the bottom. That's where all the methane's at. You just had a little leading edge start from the top, work its way down, and explode everything else around it.
So you're saying it was
Right.
the HPU that was the ignition source?
That's just what it looked like from the
Interesting.
different frames I looked at,
Well,
and how it
that
and just
HPU
how it
cover was
curved around.
smoking, right? It was smoking. We saw pictures of it. It looked like it was smoking. So it might fall that what you're saying is actually 100% accurate.
The thing that really casts doubt on that is looking at the HPU cover, it didn't blow off.
Yeah.
That's where I say, okay, it's either the HPU cover or what's below the HPU cover, but it wasn't enough to blow it off. Which, I mean, at that point, I would expect it to have
Just because something is
pretty airtight under.
Sorry, you're potatoing out. So just because it's the detonation source doesn't mean that there necessarily was like that much trapped gas underneath it. It was just the area where it started.
Well, there's a couple of questions along the same lines. Missing Tool says, could Raptor 45 have overspun the turbo pump during the spin prime, resulting in an ignition source when it came apart?
That is a pretty specific question. I don't. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, of course.
Well, basically, he's saying that the turbo pump has been overspun. It's spinning too fast. It's causing sparks. At that point,
During
you
the
shouldn't be
spin
spinning
prime.
it. Yeah, you shouldn't be spinning it that fast that you break the thing. So that shouldn't be the cause.
I don't
So
know how
I
it would
was
cause
I was
sparks when it's submerged in fluid.
I was thinking this almost from like a diesel or jet fuel perspective, that if you get enough compression, you could light it just spontaneously. There's also a really good chance in my mind, and this is speculation and theory, that look, their procedure for starting the engines might have included, hey, let's kick off the igniters. Maybe they forgot to turn the igniter off on all of them or one of them. So,
Or
there's a
maybe it
lot of
was
things
the fact that it was 33 igniters all at the same time. That would normally just have been a small little, but with 33 of them at the same time, it was like a boom.
Well, they were definitely dumping methane there. I mean, that was a fuel flow, and not just propellant, but fuel. So if that was all methane, yeah, that would have explained that.
No, but even just a little bit of methane could have done that. And especially if it's 33 Raptors, if you think about it.
True that. No, I did think that was my original thought, was that they were doing a LOX dump while doing an igniter test, and 33 igniters going off with the puff of methane they put out. Maybe that's it.
And then
Well, there's a fun little.
I don't think they've actually fully stated whether or not they had methane on board, because that same incident is possible without ever loading methane onto the booster.
How?
So,
You can use gaseous methane. That's one of the systems that they've already done with Booster 4. We've seen this test before, but not in the same regime. Like, they were pumping gas, at least a gaseous methane, and LOX at the same time. There's a great video that's demonstrated on YouTube. I can't remember the channel's name, but he has a balloon. He ignites it with, it's just, I think hydrogen is what he has, and it just burns and kind of pops a little bit. but then he puts LOX, or I'm sorry, not LOX, but just gaseous oxygen and hydrogen in this balloon. He ignites it and it just explodes. It's like a gunshot going off. It's so loud and so powerful. It's the same type of thing that we saw here. So the addition of the oxygen in that environment, and then it just kind of stagnated and didn't burn. That's not how it usually should be when it gets ignited like that. Yeah. Another element that could have caused the fire itself was there a welding generator or something else on the ground that was already continuing to run, and it just picked it up and kind of blew it apart?
But then we would have seen the flame start from the bottom, no?
Well, that's the problem. Is we see the flames using cameras that they are a rolling shutter. So you see the frame go from the top to the bottom at a 30th of a second, but it's actually even faster than that. And then you see a distance in time between those 2 points. So we don't know what was happening at those different times when it was captured.
So just to explain what I was going to say, on top of this roof right here is gaseous methane, oxygen, nitrogen, and helium, and those are used as part of that startup process. So inside of the launch mount, you can even see them right here, a bunch of different flex hoses. I'm going to get a better image of this. There's all these flex hoses on the inside. So these flex hoses transfer that gaseous nitrogen, methane, oxygen, and helium into the engine. So when you're doing the spin-up test, part of that spin-up test is using those gases in order to actually spin the engine. So if they were, I mean, you have to use helium in order to do that. You most likely should have to use at least gaseous oxygen. But in my opinion, and I think this was done up until recently, they were only using gaseous nitrogen on the gaseous methane side. So if they swapped that over to actually use methane, then as they were doing that spin up, there should have been a ton of methane gas dumping out, like a ton of it. And to me, and Marcus House even commented on it this morning, that the flame reached, let me back this out a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to go back to the video for this, but the flame reached about 70 meters up into the air.
Yes.
And so if that flame keeps climbing like that, and I think Marcus made a huge point on this, is that the methane cloud must have been 70 meters up in the air. So that you can't, if it came from the liquid methane inside of the tank, you would see it because it's boiling off, right? You would see it, the white gas boiling off, right? But it was invisible. So in my opinion, that is high pressure methane gas coming out of the Raptor quick disconnects as they're doing that spin up. And so that must have been going on for quite a while if it reached that height, in order to allow that flame to propagate as high as it did.
I mean, in my mind, they were just dumping, and I think there was a fair amount of methane in the area. Which, in my mind, they should have done an overpressure notice if they were using that much gaseous methane.
It's the gaseous methane plus the oxygen,
right?
And that is the combination. So I did get the link and the source for that video I was talking about earlier from Rohan. So thank you for that. Nile Red Shorts was the YouTube channel. He does these 60-second short clips, and that was what I saw that describes this phenomenon where you have a little bit of oxygen in that environment, or pure oxygen, plus the propellant, in this case methane, where his was hydrogen, and it really goes off. So those are the parts that you were looking at.
1 second, I'm gonna have to. Sorry, this is really difficult for me today doing this stuff. We're gonna have to show it in a different way than I want to, but it'll work.
Don't ever apologize.
Well, I'll ask a question here. Maybe you can answer after the video plays, but how do you prevent that from happening on future boosters?
You ignite it before it gets to build up like that.
That's what the shuttle used to do. They had pre-igniters, just basically sparklers that would shoot out under the whole time. So if any methane went out, it was instantly burned.
For in their case, it was hydrogen, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play this video for you guys real quick. Let me know if you can see it.
You
So this
can see
is.
it.
I'll let Thomas explain this.
So yeah, he's got this balloon. He's filled it with just hydrogen, and then he comes along with a igniter, and then underneath he just lights it a flame, and it pops the balloon, and it's just a little plop, not much of anything. Second time around, if you can, I don't think you can screw. No, you can't. So it's this short. Anyways, he does it again, and it just shakes the room because this one has actually I think it was the first one. He may have reversed it. He has the oxygen and the hydrogen in it, or maybe this is the particular one.
All right, I wanna also rephrase what I said before, because the force of that explosion could have also pushed that methane higher up into the air, right?
Well, it wasn't already the amount of oxygen too was already not high enough for what was up in the air. So that's why it kept burning, because the stuff down below, it had enough oxygen and methane, but it was already seeping out at some point beforehand.
Right. Yeah, pretty impressive event. I'm gonna swap back over to. Hopefully the sound didn't. I don't think the sound even played on that one, which is
No.
good. I got a loud sound warning, so hopefully we didn't have an issue. But yeah, so now let's get into talking about the actual damage on the launch mount itself. So
I
there's a lot
posted
to go
a
around.
picture of this launch mount last week from approximately the same angle.
Okay, there we go. So I'm not going to be able to swap back and forth between these very easily right now. So I guess let's start with just looking at what we can see here. Number one, I mean, obviously we had all these panels on the outside get damaged, so these ones are kind of, you can see it indented as that explosion hit it. And I think if we move to the other side of the launch mount, let me see if I can get us there quickly. Oh. Okay. So
Same
I
angle,
think
just a different.
did they already replace them? They
that
did.
one looks replaced.
Yeah,
they
I
already
did
replaced
see them. I saw them come out with fresh new boxes. They actually brought out the whole box, but I think they just took the lid out of the container.
Yeah, I think initially they assumed that the box was damaged beyond repair as far as just being able to swap out the lid. And so once they were able to do that, they just switched them out.
Well, the one on the right, either the lid is not too badly damaged. No, that's damaged.
Yeah,
But it's not. I think that one's fine. It looks
probably is
okay.
fine. Yeah, there's some of them like this that, like, if they don't need to open them up or whatever, then they probably won't worry about it. This is actually, I believe, the control box for this crane, I think. And then you have another control box. Did it get removed?
It
There was a
looks like
small one.
yeah, removed. Because
There's one
it's
that where okay, so you can see there's a pole line that's neon green. So they're obviously pulling some new wires there through that conduit. Just look to the left a little bit, neon green circle. So that's for pulling wires.
Oh, this one, yeah. And you see all these wires hanging down here too. So are you thinking that they're maybe replacing some wires in there?
Yeah, apparently there was a box here, I think, in this particular spot, and it's not there anymore.
And the box that
So
had the door that was all messed up is gone.
Yeah, they have. I can look. I can bring up this picture of the box really quick.
Look at that.
what's the one? Oh wow, I don't even recognize what this is on the left of the picture right now. There's that. It looks like it's supposed to be a box there, but I don't recognize it.
I think that's
It's
the
so
door,
badly
right?
mangled.
There was supposed
Let's
to be a
see.
door there.
There was two boxes. There was one. I'm switching over to the old one. There was two boxes right here next to the crane. And so if we move back to the other image, you can see. Man, this really sucks not having my stream deck with. Oh no. Here we go.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I guess that is. So
That's the same.
is
It
the
hasn't
box?
changed.
Did they
Yeah,
change it? Well, it
it's
was
the
two
same.
boxes before, and now it's one.
What you're seeing is a line, this particular pole that's the railing. That's what you're looking at, is the railing itself, or some sort of strap over the box.
Oh, it is. It was a strap over the box. I see that now. So yeah, I guess this one is still the same. They didn't actually switch that one out, which is a good thing. Um, the I think one of the things that definitely saved them is having all this wrapped up. They're not going to have to replace all this because it seems like it did its job pretty well. You can see that it's still charred a little bit on the bottom, but it could most definitely be worse.
Even the insulation stayed on those big pipes a little bit, which was impressive.
Yeah,
That's just pretty much the carbon from the methane adhering to the line, because those are really hard to burn.
yeah.
So that means those umbrella covers did a good job, or the insulation did a good job, or all of it?
Well, the umbrella covers in this case, they probably trapped some of that methane more than they did anything else.
For sure. And that's a thing it's a multi-faceted problem, right? Like if you have the gas on the outside, you don't want it to come on the inside of the table by coming through these holes. But what if the gas is on the inside? You don't want to trap it in there so it can't get out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
actually covering this launch mount up, especially after that event, in my opinion, has to be reconsidered as far as like how it's done, because if not,
One of the
I don't know.
simplest things to do in this case is a nitrogen purge of gas inside an enclosed area. That's something they do for other launch vehicles. So SLS, they do that there, as well as even I think some Falcon 9 stuff that they would purge. I know ULA does it.
Aren't there
Um,
random holes, though, at the top where the umbrellas are, if you will? The umbrella hanging over pieces? Wouldn't that vent any gas that would be under
well,
those?
it's to remove the oxygen from inside of that environment. So if you, let's say, had large amounts of methane build up in there, you're pushing some of that out with just nitrogen gas, but there's no oxygen, nothing to burn.
Right, but if
So
in this situation where that went so high up, that methane gas that would or could have been trapped under those would have been pushed up even further, no? And the bubbling is so crazy of the legs.
Yeah, this is it's not as bad as it looks. I mean, it's more ashy than anything. Like if you forget to put
The
lotion
one
on.
on the right looks like
Put
it bubbled
lotion.
out, no?
it needs some lotion really bad.
Somebody's
It's
told me that in my my recent video. They're like, you should have put lotion on. I had lotion on.
Right there.
I also had the
Were
after
you
settings set
ashy?
up very high. No, it was the after
It's
settings.
just
I'm not a very good cameraman, so
it's just superficial, It's just a scratch.
yeah.
So this is an interesting paint that they actually use. We've looked it up. We've seen them have the jars out, and the labels were readable enough to see the logo. And we looked up the paints that they use, and these are high temperature paints that I think we're able to go up to like 3,000 degrees or something crazy. And I think it was a process in paint that they've used for the the test stands, as well as the launch table here. The thing that really gets it is basically the sandblasting that you have when the either you have an explosion in this case, or the rockets are basically full bore and putting 230 metric tons per engine out, or even actually more than that.
250.
So yeah, it's going to go up to like 245, 250.
And see that leg right there is bubbling out. At least it looks like it.
You see part of it. It's just the
Yeah.
way that it shades, and then that part on the right really makes like it is.
So you're saying it's not bubbling out, it's just char.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I think there are places where on the other side where it was, we'll be able to see that. But one of the things I wanted to point out, obviously, and you can kind of see it from some of the cameras, that the insulation in some parts got completely roasted and removed. I mean, this is not that bad. This is something that can get repaired relatively easy. Truthfully, I'm surprised that they didn't have this all fully insulated beforehand. But I guess it would have been wrapped in the white I don't know what you call that insulation tape, but you would wrap it with that over this. So if that fire happened when these were fully wrapped, then the entire thing may have burned off. I'm not really sure about that, but obviously it was enough to affect this. But this just kind of goes to show that these kind of things will have to be completely covered at some point. And honestly, I'm a little surprised that they weren't beforehand, but
Well, look at the
getting
stairs and other objects like these. It handled very well. It's just that bottom pipe that's the left one of the two where it goes, and there is actual missing insulation where it's been ripped off. That's the area that it needs to be covered the most in order to do any static fire or launch campaigns, because it'll rip it off otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. Or just burn it completely. So, I mean, I think that all of this stuff needs to be protected, and they will. It's just they haven't yet. I'm surprised that we haven't seen at least pieces for it show up. But again, I do think that that's something we'll see soon.
Well,
And one of the other things I wish I could have seen actually was what happened with this chain when that explosion happened, because I don't know if the chain was actually secured down to the ground at that point, but I'm sure it is now. But I imagine this chain could have gone flying up and hit something on the top of the launch mount or the booster itself.
doesn't your video show it, the one you were showing us earlier?
Mm,
Maybe not.
No, I don't think it will.
Mm.
So for those who don't know already, the chain hoist there, and then even the bottom bracket that's just to the left of your well, now you've moved around everywhere, but yeah. So in the daylight on the bottom of the right leg, you can see that there is a piece. That block right there, and the block to the bottom right. Those pieces basically are for guiding the new table for being able to lift that directly there to work on the engines and other things.
You're talking about the
while
Raptor
boosters
table.
close. Yeah.
Oh, that looks like a dining room table with the ends folded down.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've got a much smaller version in my house that it has those leaflets that fold down, and yeah, that's what they lock into, or at least not lock into, but slide into.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
If you guys want to check it out, I did mention that in my video earlier. These cables right here are what lifts the platform up, and then those lock it into place. So it's gonna. I mean, man, they were like probably hours away from using that, I have a feeling, and now we're back to square one. So that's really disappointing. I was really excited to see them use that, but they yeah, we're a little bit further off from actually needing to use it. Yeah, I have a feeling it won't be until like after the first static fire test when we actually see it in use. But we should probably continue on a little bit, see if we can find any other things that stand out to us. There are some
They are testing a Starship, you know.
currently.
Well, no, not right now, but
Yeah, they don't test on weekends. They only have so many of those. I think it was 5 days a year that they can actually have any closures on. They'd rather not do that yet. They have whole launch campaigns they would like to do,
And just
I don't know if we talked about. No, go ahead.
no, please, Mauricio, please.
Oh, okay, but I don't know if we talked about it yet, or you all talked about it, but none of the rover cam, the vehicle windshield or the windows didn't break with the
Right.
detonation or the explosion. And I know there was a lot of concern about that in South Padre Island with the windows. You know, I know SpaceX personnel or some individuals were visiting the businesses in South Padre Island to I guess get an idea of what the windows or what the damage would be if something like that were to happen. Now, for an orbital flight, is this a concern, or was this detonation helpful to figure that part out?
this was probably the loudest that you'll get. It's a pressure wave, a peak wave that you don't get normally that loud. So a lot of the people in South Padre, you may have even heard it if you were outside that day, all the way where you live. You're about what, an hour and a half away, an hour away.
Yeah,
Just little
halfway.
thud.
Some people did mention that they heard it, but I was actually indoors at that time and I didn't hear it, probably because of that. But I know there was people in Harlingen, Texas that did hear it. My brother was actually located in South Padre Island, and he called me saying that it sounded like pretty loud thunder. But I think he was indoors, so.
I talked to Lewis right after he happened. He said it sounded like a bill collector was coming to break in. But on a good note, look, it didn't break any windows in the village or in South Padre. It didn't even break windows on the cranes or on the cars. And this is louder and more concussive than the rocket launch itself. And that tells me we've got nothing to worry about. In a way, in so many different weird ways, this might be a bit of a blessing in disguise. Just it was a test. It was a non-nominal test, but it definitely gives a lot of people a lot of data to consider. And in the end, it says this is safe.
Yeah, the decibel levels that you'd be looking at for just, let's say, Port Isabel, which would be the closest one as far as residences go, it would be like if you had a rock concert outside of your street. Just that's about as loud as it would be, and it would be for about 30 seconds or so. So the loudest point would be at the initial launch, or just a bit after that, because it's going to have a little bit of terrain to go around for the first part. But as it rises, it'll increase a little bit, and then it decreases quite a bit because it's going pretty far away at that speed. So I did a calculation the other day just to look at how long it takes the booster to clear the tower. It's less than 7 seconds. It's going at about 120 kilometers an hour at that point.
GB, did you want to show us something on this? I noticed you're like looking around.
Oh, I'm just trying to see if there's anything new on here. Something that, like, this is the most common question I think people ask me about. Like, I crazy amount of DMs asking if the claws have been seen, and no, they have not. But
Are they coming back, Zach? Are they coming?
I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm sad about it still, truthfully. But I was just looking. There is something new over here, which we'll talk about on the other side once we get there. But I guess we're gonna work our way there, starting with the berm. Which, oh, sorry, I don't want to continue on unless if you guys had more you wanted to add.
I think we're
Just keep
ready.
moving.
Yeah, we got 30 minutes left.
So I'm gonna get another shot of this. Hopefully, let's see, because I want to talk about that berm real quick.
So while we're talking about the
There we
claw,
go.
there was a question from Jeff Leclerc. He's asking, thanks for all your hard work. Absolutely fascinating. What say y'all about the missing claws from the ship cutie? Coming back, new design, obsolete?
It's obsolete. They don't need it.
And there you have it. Go ahead, GB.
I think they're gonna come back, but I
The
just want to
crow
see them
bets
more
are
than
on.
anything. Yeah. So as you guys can see, the berm looks like it's nearing completion. They are starting on that center section of it right now. So the weird thing here is I thought that there were pipes coming out of this side too.
There were.
There are. You can see them right there. It's just
Oh, they're cut.
they've been cut flush.
Yeah,
So these
you
are
can see
weep
them.
holes. So you want any moisture or water inside of that soil to come out on this side. You don't want it to be gaining moisture and eventually just slump and fall and ruin all of your launch site.
Yeah, so you can. I guess I moved past it.
Mauricio has a poll in the chat that is enjoyable as well. Is the cutie claw coming back? Yes, no, maybe? Let us know what you
Let me
guys
go.
think.
Plenty of crow to go around.
50-50 right off the bat. All right, so continuing on, let's see. Oh, looks like so this is one thing that we're also kind of expecting is that I think Grandpa Joe said this earlier, is that most likely the can crusher stand will get moved back like once they start doing static fires, I would assume, because you can kind of see the protection that they're adding on to the cryostation GSE, or the quick disconnect for the Starship. So they're, like, when we first talked about this, I think they only had maybe this bottom panel on, and now they've added several more in order to cover up all of the cryo tubes on the inside. Will be interesting to see what they do to protect the face of this, the QD panel. I would be surprised if they just leave it like that. I mean, it looks like they're covering it up with something right now, but I don't think that's enough. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if that's damaged right now. So
It definitely looks like it.
You know, I've got the cheap solution to the problem. About 4 shipping containers will basically protect your can crusher here. You just put them in a kind of a triangle shape, and they'll take the brunt of it. That's about it.
because they don't
Why are
have
you
fun.
why are you thinking they need to protect that piece? I
This
mean,
one?
besides the explosions, but yeah, I mean that's just that's the test stand quick disconnect, right?
Yeah, I mean they already are protecting it. They're adding
Yeah.
all these panels on to seal it in, and I don't know what they're going to do up here with the exposed part, but at least down here they seem to have a solution already.
Mini hood.
Mini hood. So we're going to cycle through these. We've kind of talked about the can crusher a little bit a few hours ago,
Yeah.
so we can probably move a little bit past those.
Only thing to note on that is they put on more insulation.
I was wondering what
on
happened to the
the
obelisks.
top of the
Yeah.
tank up here.
Yep. That's it. That's all that's new there.
I like the valve layouts up there. In a
Kind
way,
of janky.
they look damaged.
That's
No,
how
it's
we
just
used
the
to
way
do it.
it's just orientations.
Were they always like this?
Yeah.
Are there
Okay.
lights on the ends or no?
No, those are valves. So you've got
Okay.
the valves that open and close it, and they're long stem because you're dealing with extremely cold cryofluids.
Part of my pressure vessel job was testing them, doing test articles. And we would have little setups like that all over the place. The trouble with the little ones is a little bit of pressure spikes it from going, we're at 5 pounds, 200 pounds, abort.
Yeah, like I said, I'm kind of surprised it's still here. But they also, in order to move this, they need to bring back in that mobile bridge crane that they brought in to lift it up. So that could be something that, unless they transport the whole, well, no, I don't think they can transport it without bringing in that mobile crane in order to lift it up.
Why? Why couldn't they?
I mean, that's how they got it here. I'm assuming they probably need
Okay.
the same thing, that special bridge crane setup that they did just to get it there.
Fair
Oh
enough.
wow. I don't think we touched on this before, but
No, we did not. Hello, engine coverings.
Oh, wow. Is that what those are?
Yeah.
I just thought they were crumpled metal.
They are.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely now. They're modern art.
I wouldn't mind taking one. I think these got shipped off. They've been trashed already, so none of us will be able to have any of it. But yeah,
Mauricio
this
might be
is
buying more metal. You never know.
pretty significant damage down there for sure. I mean, this is only like, I don't know, 10 to 15 panels though.
Is it just me or is that thinner? It doesn't look like it's 4 mil.
It's probably thinner. You don't
Wait.
need to have a lot of protection. It's just it's to protect from heat and a little bit from the elements like ice chunks or something falling and hitting instead of the power head. It's this instead.
Mauricio, did they look different when you were there? Other than being crumpled, of course.
What was the question again?
The metal that we're
The
looking at, the covers, did the
I
thickness look
mean,
like it changed at all or anything?
just however it looks here in the photo. Honestly, in person, it looked a lot further away, so I couldn't really tell.
I got you. Okay.
My guess is 2mm on those. Just like with flaps and things like that, they use about 2mm there.
But it doesn't change when it's heated and cooled and heated and cooled and blows off.
Oh, when you blow it off, it's off.
Not that I understand, but the thickness won't change.
Right. The thickness
No.
is it's not going to be changing unless they decide that they want to get rid of them entirely, which would go to 0. That's, I think, the general direction Elon wants to go, because if we can get rid of those, we don't have to protect the power heads because we have all of the lines basically embedded into the Raptor engine itself. If there's nothing to protect, why have extra weight just to protect something? So right now, that's an over optimization of something that should be basically removed or deleted.
Yeah. And so right here, what we're looking at, if you guys are wondering what this is, basically, SpaceX has started to extend their property line out, or well, not extending their property line. They already owned all of this.
Yeah, that white stake right there is their property line on the bottom.
Yeah. So they're stripping out basically all of the plant matter in there, which is good because then you don't have to worry about it catching on fire during launches.
Is it part of that
Um,
expansion that's approved?
No, they already owned all of this land, so
Okay.
Yeah, so where your mouse is, just to the left a little bit, there's that stake right there. No, down, further down. That one right there. That is the property line where it basically says this is the beach side where they technically own the sand dunes and the beach, but they don't. They can't control access of it. It's Texas state law. It's basically you're allowed to access to the dunes and the beaches of all of the coast of Texas, and this is the line or the limit right there. So going past that is going into SpaceX's property where you're not supposed to be. The rest of it, you can see those stakes up there. Those are the new work site line that you're talking about. So they've expanding, and this is what they've been approved to expand to. Yeah. So I think we should get an Army Corps of Engineers and even probably an FAA map or an FAA map at some point that show this line.
All right. Our old friend, the water tank. Nothing happening here.
Nice vertical stringers. Those are new as of like, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, they... No idea what they're doing with those. But yeah, this is currently no longer active. So they have changed over the methane tanks over to water tanks. We're not going to go into that too deep today. But I want to get over to those chopsticks, unless you guys have something on these Starship pictures that you want to mention as I'm cycling through them.
Well, the tape will come off during the launch. Or re-entry, either way.
Well, they certainly are moving forward on the Ship 24 test campaign, and they did have more tiles installed.
Okay, looking at this kind of closely, this does look like the paint actually peeled off here. This kind of looks like something hit it.
I agree with
Like
that.
those,
It definitely looks
those
like something hit it.
cables, the chain. I don't know if that would do that kind of damage, this chain right here. But I don't know.
Well, look at the edge. That's actually the more concerning part. Is that edge. I don't know if it's separated from the edge or if it's just appears darker. Like it's just a shadow and some charring together. You get an edge like that.
Yeah, I don't think these are attached onto the leg. I think they're attached onto these brackets right here.
Oh, so it got blown off the bracket.
And so, no, nothing's different about it. There's just that it's just not welded to the leg. It's attached only onto here. So it was never fully attached. That's why you see that gap.
Well, it makes sense because there's concrete underneath. You don't want to weld directly onto metal that's got concrete back in it. Otherwise, you start doing some really bad things.
They did that down here with the
that's right. Sidings.
Diverters.
Those are converters?
Diverters.
Oh, diverters, yes.
Flame diverters?
Yep.
Converted diverters.
The flame diverters on the bottom of the legs right here, these are welded all around the edges. You can kind of see it more on this side than on this side, but man, these look horrible right now.
As
we got more pictures of the...
says, it'll buff out.
I hope so. And yeah, we have tons of images of all of these panels on the ground. I can't tell if these must be are they all external, right? They don't have the same ones on the inside. They're black.
Yeah, these are all external.
Yeah. It just didn't look like there was this many missing when they took it off. Like there was
the internal stuff is black.
Right.
We did see that at least one of those got taken off and then replaced.
So there on the left, would that be a black one? That's like on its back? Yeah.
No, that still looks like metal.
The internal ones are not metal?
I don't know what they're made out of, but they don't look metallic. They look like they are fiberglass or something else. They just take a bit of heat and they can take a little bit of pressure, but that's about it.
I feel like I went through these pictures. I'm going backwards. Hold on. Let me...
So once again, they're optimizing a problem they shouldn't.
And there's also a question. Do you know the thickness of the material used for booster and ship rings and or tanks? And that's from Lyric Bread.
4 millimeters and then down to 3.6 for the barrel section and nose cone segments.
So the answer is yes, Lyric Bread. We do know the answer.
Oh, looks like we did get at least one panel that was fully swapped out on here. So this looks like one of the new ones.
The one on the right is swapped out too.
I don't think this is swapped. They just took the lid off of it and they taped it so it doesn't get wet on the inside. This one is swapped though.
Yeah. At least the front panel is.
Covered it too. No, isn't that a black bag around it or no?
Yeah, that's what I'm
garbage bag.
Yeah.
The panel is off and they covered it with the bag.
Gotcha.
To stop from getting wet.
or to hide it from us because we love to know what's inside.
That's true. That is definitely also true. So we got the chopsticks, which we
The
talked
extra
about
long
briefly earlier.
chopsticks.
The way too long chopsticks, I guess. um, so they're, I was actually wondering what these looked like down here, if they actually had any damage on them. We can't really see it that well right now. Um, and we
The
said this
camera's
before.
got covers on them for blast proofing like that, so they look good.
Do they? Does it have a cover on it?
Yeah, they're all covered. That's what that is.
Right. I'm trying to get to a view where we can show what they added on to the chopsticks. Oh, well,
You can see it
over
right
here.
there. At least the original piece on this side.
So,
And hello
Oh,
there.
wow.
yeah, this is the other accumulator. So they have one on the left side of the chopsticks and one on the right side. This is
That is the right side.
yeah, this is the right side. This we've kind of been expecting this for a while. Actually surprised it took so long to get here. But yeah, so this is now installed, and the interesting thing will be what happens with the rest of the hydraulics on the launch tower. So it is possible that this was always designed to be this way, and that the hydraulics. Oh, but then you have that huge cable chain. So with the additional hydraulics available now, with the chopsticks actually being transitioned over to this instead of the ones that are, I don't think we can see it from this view. Instead of the ones that are inside of the tower, basically that frees up all of that stuff that's still inside of the tower. So I'm kind of interested to see what that will be used for with the additional hydraulics in there. I mean, it could theoretically allow the SQD arm to move faster, the same way that they're doing
Interesting.
with this, but I don't know if there's a need for the SQD arm to move faster,
Those
truthfully.
wouldn't be hooked up. That would not be hooked up to the SQD arm. So it's several different levels, different, and these are mobile. So you'd have to run flex line from this side all the way to the other. It just
No.
doesn't make
So
sense there.
what I'm saying is
Oh,
there's an additional inside the tower. I'm just gonna see if I can find a picture of it. Inside of the tower, there is this bank of accumulators right here.
Mhm.
And so these were initially used, I believe one of them was used for the left chopstick, the other one's used for the right one, and then this one is used to actuate the SQD arm. So with these no longer being in use, that frees them up for something else, which could be to increase the speed of the SQD arm as well.
Well, that's pretty cool.
So, Zach, I had a question about KSC, and that's the tower section number 5. Obviously, super complex, has a lot of stuff on it. I was thinking it's going to take a long time to build that section out, and I just wanted to get your take on it. I mean, now's a good image because, man, look at how much stuff is just going on in there.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on how much of this they actually do before they transport it. I mean, because it is a lot. This is a very, very large amount of weight in here. One thing that is interesting, which, sorry, I just noticed something.
What'd you notice?
These don't, just these, I guess I've seen these before, the smaller
Hmm.
accumulators.
Oh,
See these in the
EDA
Everything
inner tube.
Astronaut Tour. Yeah, it was where I first saw those, and I was actually I never noticed them until then, and this is the first time I've actually noticed them outside of there. But yeah, I think these control all of the smaller components on the SQD arm, like uh, the extender. Sorry, the extensions for. Let me just get over there to it.
And real fast, SQD, for those who don't know, stands for?
Ship quick disconnect. And while we're here, actually, I should mention this thing because this is going to come up. This is a pipe that is basically used to purge out all of the nitrogen, or sorry, they use nitrogen to purge all of the systems inside the tower, and they purge it out of this pipe. And it from forever, it was suspended from various things. And you can see it's tied off right here. And it looks like now they're finally permanently attaching it so that it won't move around as much. And the interesting thing about this is that they're adding another one as well onto the SQD arm. And so the hydraulics I was talking about would be the ones that actuate this, because this is a much smaller piston than the one that actuates this entire arm. So the additional accumulators would be for this, and I think there's another one, right?
Well, that one's just for the pull away for the SQD. It's the one that's for the entire arm that if you're going to add accumulators and other things, that's the one you want to do because it's the part that moves the slowest.
Yeah, this is just the tiny accumulators are for this. And I think there's another one. But the big ones are for the actual arm itself. But
And
what I
I
was
just saw your
pointing out
purge line.
in
Yeah.
here is this new purge line that's been added here. So when we've seen them purge this in the past, it looks kind of interesting because you can't really tell where it's coming from, and it's like in the center. They usually do it from like in the center of here, and now it looks like extending it out so that it purges outside of the arm, so it's not like freezing up anything in here or something like that. But yeah, that's a new addition that got added this week. You can still see that they're in the process of fully attaching it. But
And
other than
there's,
that, I haven't. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, there's no fear that if there is another explosion like there was for B7, that the flame won't catch these?
Well,
This
so the
one?
other one on the other side of the integration tower, that would probably be the methane line. You want to get it away
But
from
we
the
can't
vehicle and
purge
power.
methane, remember?
But you can.
Not like
You do
that.
need to purge some methane for doing this rocket and all of the uh, launch activities here. So just the venting of the vehicle, you will be purging methane in the atmosphere. The idea that they are not allowed to purge methane when they need to and when it's necessary, it's an idea that keeps coming back because there are state laws, but they are basically for the petroleum industry. They are basically active oil refineries and such that you're not supposed to be sitting there just pumping out methane gas into the environment continuously. So there are laws to basically prevent that. They're not trying to sit there pumping out methane at a continuous rate. It's only for certain cycles of the vehicle that they need to purge methane. And oftentimes, when they will be purging, let's say for these lines, let's say if there's methane in the lines, you will see this one will probably be more like a LOX line, and the other one for the right side of the integration tower from here, that would be the methane. You just want it as far away from the rocket and everything else that you're working with here.
I want to offer an alternate theory. I think these are both on the same line. So part of fuel loading, and there's people who've made videos explaining what they do inside of the booster. So basically, inside of the booster, before they start loading fuel, you pump a whole bunch of gaseous oxygen or nitrogen. I guess you can also do it with methane, into the tank in order to actually chill the walls of the tank, so that once you start um, pumping liquid nitrogen, or sorry, your liquid cryogenic fluids in there, it doesn't start immediately boiling off and creating that. I forget what the effect's called. Um, but so you're pre-chilling. So in my opinion, I think this is part of pre-chill for the pipes itself. So um, and we are getting towards the end of the show, so I'll mention this. If you guys haven't seen it, please check out the CSI Starbase episode where I go into this a little bit more. Basically, this is part of that system that I mentioned where you're purging. So by gasifying nitrogen at the tank farm and pumping it through these pipes and purging it out the top, you're chilling the pipes before you dump the liquid nitrogen in there, or sorry, before you dump your liquids in there, so that there's not as much boil off as it's filling. So you would have, in my opinion, and like I said, and I said this before, this could be wrong. Thomas could be right. We really have no idea. All of this is speculation, but
More pictures we get, more traces of lines we can see where they go
yeah.
and where they're connected to, and yeah, they do purge the lines. That is part of the process. We've seen them do numerous times.
So
It's just how they're going about doing those things.
I think there's 3 different spots that they do this at. There's one.
At the base of the tower, right?
Yeah, there's one at the base of the tower, there's one up here, and then there's one on the SQD arm. So in my opinion, those are all the same thing. So you're doing first you're chilling everything before from in between the tank farm to the tower, and then from the bottom of the tower to the top of the tower, and then from here to the end of the arm. So the question is whether or not it all goes through all of them or if
You do
if
need to
this is just
pre-chill the
a lot.
lines, for instance. That's one of the things that you will use is, let's say, liquid nitrogen through these lines to pre-chill it, and then you pump in your nitrogen or your, let's say, propellants, let's say either oxygen or methane. You want to basically pre-chill those lines. Otherwise, you have a lot of boil-off gas that is just wasted. You waste your propellants, and it's not useful.
Yeah, and the way that you get that gas in there is by rapidly liquefying it. So there's a heat exchanger inside of the bunker, which again, not 100% sure, but should allow them to rapidly or gasify, vaporize liquid nitrogen into a gas so that they can dump it through the system as quickly as possible.
Well, that's on the outside. It's a gasifier. So it's basically got a bunch of. It looks like a giant heat sink.
A gasifier?
No, it gasifies. It literally turns liquid, let's say liquid nitrogen, into gaseous nitrogen, and that's what you use to pressurize all of the pneumatic systems, to turn all the valves and other systems for the fuel farm and integration tower. It's all controlled originally from that point of source. It's using basically the conversion of liquid into gas, and it expands about 700 times. So you get some pressure there.
Let me bring up an aerial photo. So there are two different types of vaporizers out here, and this is again just my opinion on what's happening. So if you look at, let me see if this is showing the right thing. So if you look at here, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 vaporizers right there,
Yep.
and these are open air vaporizers. So in my opinion, these are used to vaporize the liquid gas that's needed to fill these, and also possibly for pre-pressurization of the tanks. However, when they're doing purging through the launch mount, like we've even seen it when there's no booster there, so you know they're not loading fuel. I think that it's the heat exchangers inside of this building that work at a way higher rate than these do. And so there's massive amounts of water going into this building through the pumps and cycling back into the tank. And I'm almost 100% positive that they're constantly cycling that water at the beginning of the stage as they're liquefying that gas to run through the pipes. So I think there's multiple different 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's heat exchangers inside the building. And we, up until this point, never had any other explanation for what those heat exchangers could be for. So that's really the only other option that kind of makes sense because, initially I thought that it could be used for cooling down the hydraulics of the launch tower, but like you would just do that inside the launch tower. So there's nothing else to exchange that much heat with that you would need a water tank this size unless you were trying to rapidly vaporize that fluid. So here's the other thing. If you run this long enough, so before they even start that test, if they're just cycling it, these pumps will heat up the water inside of these tanks. Like they can reach a point where the water is actually boiling inside of these tanks just by cycling the water. And that way, if you had super hot water, or not, it doesn't have to be that hot, but just warm water, so that you're not worrying about it freezing when you're doing that heat exchange process with the cryogenic nitrogen.
Yeah, my thought was if you keep the water flowing, it won't freeze, and that's the important part.
True, but it won't freeze because it's number one moving, but also those pumps, as it's passing through the pumps, it will heat it up very significantly.
So you're saying the heat exchanger for hydraulics?
No, for the gas.
Because if you're taking liquid nitrogen and putting it through the heat exchanger for water, it would not heat up the water. It would cool down the water, but the water would, as a thermal mass, basically gasify the nitrogen.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you don't want the temperature of the water to be too low because then you have to increase the rate that you're pumping at so that you don't freeze the water. So, I mean, that would never happen.
I'm confused with where the heat is coming in from this water.
The water donates its heat to the nitrogen.
No. So the heat comes from running the water through the pump. So this is a trick that we did in the oil and gas industry which is something that I actually don't agree with. So when we didn't want to shut down our equipment because it was, let's take the storm in Texas, for example, that happened when everything was frozen. So, in my opinion, the responsible thing to do is to drain all the water out of the whole system, and then, you don't have to worry about anything freezing. But instead, what we do is we just run everything 24/7, because as that water is running through the pumps, it gets hot. So if you cycle the water long enough, it will boil. And these pumps are very large. It will do that. If you cycle it, even though the water is going all the way up to the top here and falling down, it will still heat up.
So
100%.
Zach, what I was saying is that the heat from the water is transferred to the liquid nitrogen, which then boils the liquid nitrogen, becoming gaseous. So yeah, whatever temperature the water's going in at, and yeah, you're absolutely right. The pump for the water will heat it up. And with that, it's
a
3
really
o'clock.
cool trick, actually. I wish that when Tim Dodd asked Elon about the tank farm, that he was able to go more into it, because it's super interesting, and there's little things like that it's truthfully just speculation. We have no idea. But I'm just going off of systems that I know how they work. That's what I would use it for. But with that, I think we almost took us to the end of the show on accident right there.
Oh, look at that.
Was there any things that you guys saw in here that you wanted to cover before we end it? I don't want to
Just show one picture of Starship, and they've been working crazy on Starship. That's
Which
all
one?
I could say. Any
This
of
one?
those, yeah. So they've been going through, working quite diligently at getting the tiles, the tape, all of that done.
Are they taking it off?
No,
they're putting
adding
tape, and then they're in areas where they've already added tape, they have removed some. So Starship S-24 getting ready to fly. So soon.
And it didn't lose any tiles in that explosion?
If it did, they weren't attached.
That's a good way of putting it.
They were never meant to be there in the first place.
It kind of looks like a leaf got taped on up top.
Up top, you said?
No, never mind. Down lower. Yeah.
Too slow.
Yeah, this thing is looking really, really good every single day.
Yeah, this is not bad. And by the way, just a misnomer that I went through. I kept seeing those pipes on the right-hand side a little bit up. I thought those were just unfinished conduit. No, it's external stringers. So missed that if anybody else had the same misconception I did. I kept waiting for them to finish those.
It looks cool.
It sure
Racing
does.
stripes. Yeah, well, with that, I guess we're at the end of our show for today. I think that we definitely should probably go through any remaining super chats that we didn't touch before anything else.
Yeah, Mauricio, are you around? Our Indian Star, you want to take them over?
Yeah, we pretty much did them all. There aren't any that were in the chat that weren't called out.
Okay. Well, in that case,
I'm
I guess
good.
we're at the end of today's show. So thank you guys for being here with us today. My name is Zach. Appreciate you guys being here as always. It's really fun being here every single Saturday, and especially with the great co-hosts that we have. It's nice having all of us here at one time, so I hope you guys appreciate that as well. And I'll pass it off to Indy. Or, sorry, Grandpa Joe.
I'll take it last. Andy, go.
Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you guys in the chat. I've been saying it since the beginning. This thing would not be as amazing if it weren't for all of you in the chat. For those of you who have joined us for the first time this week, we hope that you continue to join us. And for our regulars, you know where to be every Saturday. Go ahead, Thomas.
Thank you for having me again this week, and it's been a pleasure as always. Mauricio, do you want to take a word before Grandpa Joe has the last word?
Oh,
Yeah, just one thing here. We do want to improve the stream, so if you have any comments or feedback, feel free to message me on Twitter, or if you want to leave a comment publicly here on the YouTube channel, feel free to do so. And aside from that, I want to thank everybody that joined us for episode 30, and the donations and the support for these flyovers. It's tremendous help for that, and thank you very much for that. I'll pass it on to Grandpa Joe.
but before Grandpa Joe starts, there is one more super chat that I almost forgot, which is £5 from Kaleem Gold. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, GPJ.
Thank you, everybody who's contributed. And guys, it's always a pleasure hanging out with everybody on YouTube and, especially my co-host. Love you guys. And with that, let's get out of here. Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.